Nope, not yet. Yeah, I thought I'd seen it pop up, but it maybe something else. Now what I
Get rid of the damn emojis.
yeah. A lot of things I want to get rid of.
I'm just so blown away by that whole Trump thing.
I'm still blown away, but I was listening. I got something I'm gonna read to you in a minute. Last night I was watching the Fox coverage of it. My son was watching movies again on it. So I had the computer going. I was sitting here watching all the Fox coverage, and there was a attorney that came on that I can't remember what his name was, but he was talking, and he said, you know, they don't care about the fact that the appeal is going to overthrow everything. It's going to overturn everything. He said it's not what they care about. They just want to be able to say convicted felon right now and try to hope that hurts. And apparently last night Trump came on and he said, we're not fighting for me, we're fighting for you. Because if the Democrats take over everything in November, you see what will happen basically. And he asked for donations to help him along with the fight and everything. And they said it's record donations, and that his website keeps crashing. That's how many people are going to it, right? But
Sunstar,
this
good
attorney,
morning.
hey, Sunstar, number one, Jonathan Jackson Monin. But this is the thing he said: out of everything that happened in that trial, there's one thing that's going to overturn it right now. Based, if it went right now to the Supreme Court, they would do it based on this one statement the judge made. And it said, you do not have to figure out the second part of the crime. They had to have, according to the law, they had to find two crimes to convict him, like conspiracy and intent or something like that. He said, you do not have to figure out the second part of the crime, and you don't have to be unanimous. So if three people thought count one was a crime, and five people had count two, and then you got another four people said count four, that's all 12 jurors. That's good enough. The Supreme Court has issued a statement, and this is what they've done in the past. This few years back, it says this is exactly the words of it. All elements of all counts of all crimes must be proven and be beyond the exclusion of reasonable doubt and has to be unanimous. Yep. Based on what the judge said and what the Supreme Court said, the thing's overturned. And they got to go 9-0 because they've already said it. So it's stupid. It's really, and then the fact that they're making him wait for the rest of the stuff for 4 days before the national convention. All this is political. They had people on last night being interviewed from New York City that said, I voted Democratic all my life. And it's not that I like him, but I saw what happened. I'm voting for him. So it's gonna be wild the next 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's not going to be sentenced till the 11th of July, right?
Yeah, 4 days before the convention starts.
Yep.
That's another thing. And then they could put him on house arrest and not let him go to convention. So you see what I mean? They said that when they started reading the verdicts, the judge had to sit there with his hand over his mouth because he was smiling and laughing. So, but that right there, watch out.
Well, all it takes is for the Supreme Court to overturn it, but it still will be on the record.
It's only going to be on the record until he wins again. That's all.
Well,
Morning,
you know,
Paul.
the smartest
Joe.
things, the smartest
Brian.
thing
Morning.
somebody said yesterday on one of the news shows is the smartest thing that Biden could do would be to immediately
Pardon him.
pardon Trump and say that this is not the way that this country should be, and I want to be the first one to say that a man is still his word, you know?
Yep. Yep.
But there's nobody over there that'll think that way.
But Biden already put out a statement last night saying that this is what we've been saying all along, that the law is not above anyone. Nobody's above the law. And that he should not, and they said, and he's going to be, because of which his MAGA crowd will be giving him record donations. We need y'all to start donating to us so that we could make sure we defeat him. Because that will be what depends on democracy in the future.
Yeah,
There's no democracy in right now in the Democratic Party.
there's two ways you can look at it, I suppose. One, yeah, carrying on with it is at least showing proof that nobody is above the law. But actually pardoning him and saying that it shouldn't go ahead would give him a lot more points in the election race. But
Well, he's already got the points. The points are happening right now because of this. And
no, I
he
mean
can't
Biden.
prove. Oh yeah, but that wouldn't matter. I don't think it would matter.
If Biden
They
pardoned him, it'd be a plus point for Biden.
Well, to some people, but it's they said 67% of the people voting for the right now in the election said this doesn't make a difference.
Which is daft because it should. I mean, all it's showing is that people are quite happy to elect a corrupt government.
No, it's showing that the people already have a corrupt government, and the government we had 4 years ago was so
Yeah.
much better. It was so much better. Because I'm gonna tell you, I was paying $1.86 a gallon for gas, and even Biden came out the other day and he said he was giving an economy that was the highest inflation rate when he took over. No, it was the lowest inflation rate when he took over. It went up to the highest with him. It's going back down a little bit, but it's still higher than it was when Trump was in.
I mean,
And
it
then they were talking
wasn't-
about the black unemployment.
Inflation
He said
went
black
up
unemployment.
because of COVID,
Well-
not because of Biden.
Well, it was COVID. It was another plan.
Good morning, gentlemen.
But good morning. But
Hi,
they said
Michael.
black unemployment was higher during Trump. No, it wasn't. It was 1 point something when Trump gave it to Biden, and it went up to 4 point something. And it's come out to say it's not the quantity of the job, it's the quality of the job that were difference. You know, so it's like it. I'll put it this way: 4 years ago, I was a lot better off than I am right now.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
aren't we all? Yeah.
You'd have to be here and
It's
see.
gonna continue on now for a while.
Well, it's going to change. It's going to
Back and
change.
forth, yep.
157 days. 157 days, and the statement you said about no one's above the law. When the judge comes out, when they have a investigation of all the stuff that Biden has in his possession, loose in his garage, right? And
I agree.
all these
That's
things
wrong
were
as well.
dated from when he was a senator, when he didn't have the right to have, that were confidential and top secret stuff. And then they do a complete interview with him to check all of this, and then the person doing this says that he believes that he's too frail. It was wrong basically, but they don't think they should put any charges on him because he's too frail and he's an old man.
Yeah. Since when is that a good excuse?
They
Yeah.
made
Not to
him
face
above the
justice.
law.
And isn't that actually stating that he's too frail to be the president as well. Then.
Yep.
Exactly.
I agree.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the Department of Justice. His own Department of Justice
Yeah, Department of Justice said that.
said that
Yeah.
he was not cognitive enough
Yeah,
to be
they
charged.
said he
Right.
was talking. They
Right.
said he was talking about his son that died, about that he was still alive, and all kind of stuff.
It was
You
random.
know, it's
He,
like-
he's either compos mentis or he's not, you know? You can't have two things. Good point, Dan.
You know, that's my thing right there.
I don't.
But that's all right. It's starting to come to a head. I'm waiting to see what happens with Hunter Biden because this trial's starting, and they got him dead to rights with everything. And chances are he's going to be convicted. And I want to see how fast it takes for Biden to pardon him.
Good morning. Good morning, Jonathan.
See, that would be the last straw.
Cool.
Yeah, you got a point there,
Here.
Dan. Let's talk about boobs.
Oops, yeah.
Oh wait,
Boobs
I
are
was
right.
talking about a boob. The one in the White House right now. There's a couple of boobs in the White House.
I got out
Well, I don't
and
know.
I flew a ship this morning and I got it posted.
Sorry.
It
Yeah, I
was
saw that.
a salty.
What do you mean by salty?
International ship.
A sea ship.
They're designed for the ocean, where
Got you.
Great Lakes ships are, you know how wide they are.
They're all
They would snap in half out in the ocean.
Right. So yeah. So sea ships are all kind of keels and proper
Yeah.
design
Yeah.
for.
And they got
Rolling and
that bulbous
stuff.
thing out underneath the front end, out into the water to break stuff up, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Difference between salt water and fresh water.
Yeah.
The difference in the waves and everything.
I always
Those
enjoy.
waves,
Sorry, go on, Jim.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I always enjoyed sailing in the sea a lot more because the waves would kind of bounce my boat up, you know, and sailing these little laser class dinghies. In fact, they used them in the Olympics. They're nice little boats. Have a little trapeze and a daggerboard, so they're quick. But
Yeah.
rather than a sailing boat, it's more like a glorified. What do they call them? You know, a surfboard. They're very, very fast, lovely little boats. But in the sea, you can use waves as ramps and stuff, you know, and have fun with it. And also the wind is generally a lot stronger, you know, when you're in the sea. It's going to change my headset. Bear with me. I'm not going to be able to hear anything for a bit.
We used to go fishing almost every weekend when I was growing up down to Grand Isle, Louisiana. And my cousin had a 26-foot Chris Craft, big boat. And that thing used to take a beating out there with the high waves. But it was a steady boat. It would be perfect, but we take a beating. And then my uncle had it was a 35-foot God darn it, I can't remember the name of it now. But it was a 35-foot wooden boat. And we were out in the Gulf and we were catching 4.5-foot waves. And he come walking out of the cabin in the bottom and looked at us and said, "Put your life jackets on, we just split open." The thing split right in half.
here's the ship I just did. You can
Yeah,
tell
that
by the
looks like you.
design that's it's
That
narrower.
part right there looks like you scraped something. It amazes me how big those things are. How they just they perform, you know?
Yeah, and this one is from Valenta. What is that? Is that Italy or
Malta.
Malta? Okay.
It's an island about 30 miles, 40 miles south of the tip of Italy. If you remember the Popeye film that they made, the Popeye village that they used in the film was built on Malta.
Ah,
Malta was the only country to actually be awarded the George Cross in the war.
Man, it's got to be the angle you're flying on, just the angle of everything. Almost looks like that thing's listing a little bit to the right.
Now I can hear.
yeah. So I did that this morning and then got it edited and put it up here.
They do. They do list a little anyway, don't they? When they turn.
Little Avalora is in the chat.
Morning, Laura. Afternoon, Laura.
So Joe, you're going to get a chance to fly at all?
I'm
Or?
going to sign back into Zoom because my
I
audio
don't
is
know.
messed up. Bear with
I
me.
didn't get a chance yesterday. When I said I was getting off to go, it started raining. They got storms coming in again. It looks good. It looks good now. And it looks like I might be okay in a little while. I'll find out. Later today, I got to run up to that place near that property to pay a bill. Either that or pay it online and pay $4 extra. I don't like paying $4 extra.
Well, you're going to check on
Yep.
your cookie too?
Hell no. That cookie's long gone. My son went to Fresh Market here last night. And he came in and said, and I was wondering why he was being so nice. And he said, "Oh, by the way, I bought some almond cookies in there if you want one. If you want something like that." I went in there and oh, that was the best cookie I've ever eaten in my life. But he was sitting in my recliner, and I looked over at him, and I couldn't figure what he was doing. And I looked over at him because he's watching a movie. He had Tino with him. He went and grabbed Tino, and because Tino was laying in the hallway. They picked Tino up, came back in, he had him upside down like a baby, and Tino was just like that. What Tino wasn't moving. He was sucking it up, just laying there and just getting low. But that's Tino. If you pick him up and lay him right here, he'll just lay there and he won't move. He's like,
Wow.
that's good. I'm done. He's the only dog I've ever had like that. But from the very beginning, I'd lay down on the floor and make him come over by me. He'd come over by me and I'd lay on top of him. And he'd just lay there. And at nighttime, like I tell you, when I'm going to bed, he follows me around. And he'll come over and he'll sit next to me. And I'll say, "You ready to get some loving?" And he'll come up, like pick up. I'll pick him up and lay him on the bed and just kind of cuddle him like that, and just lay there against him for about 5 minutes, just giving him some loving at night. But he's got to have that every night. I tell him he's my best man, the best man I ever had. I tell Loki he's the other man. He's the other best man. But he's got to get his loving in. And Loki did something last night strange. I got up in the middle, and I heard the stupid refrigerator making noise again. So I walked up and shook it and stopped. I might have to level it. That's what it is. So what happened was I went back and I went to the bathroom, and I'm sitting there, and Loki walks in, rolled around, and laid down by my feet like Tino does. Because Tino wasn't there, so he took Tino's place.
Ah,
Just sat there by my feet, just sat there. Just, I got your back. It's like he knows I'm in a vulnerable position, maybe, and that he's protecting it.
yep. It's like Jonathan says, that's their comfort zone.
Yep.
Each one of my dogs throughout all the time I've had dogs, each one is a little bit different. They got their own attitudes, their own comfort zone, they're willing to do this, they're not willing to do that. Yeah.
Well, Cleo, because she's got that Chihuahua, poor Chihuahua in her, she got that Chihuahua attitude.
Ah,
So when she was the first couple of years, if I was laying down like that, she'd come over there, and if I'd start like getting close to her, she'd start to show teeth. And I said, no, this house is no biting, no growling, hugging and kisses only at this house. And I'd blow on her, and she'd show me her teeth. I said, I don't see them teeth, and she'd show them to me again. So this went on, and I'd make sure I kept doing that to her, because she would snap at you every once in a while. So I would, when she started doing that, I'd get more aggressive with her, and I'd get closer to her, blow on her. And I said, "But you show me them teeth again, like that." And she'd sit there and show me like one tooth, you know. I said, "I don't want to see none of them." And it got to a point where now she don't do it. It takes a lot to make her do that. The day she was arguing with Loki down here, and I reached over and touched her, she turned around and showed me teeth. And I said, "Boy, take off down the hall before I hit you crack in the ass with my shoe." And she took off. She got up, looked at me, walked down the hall, and left one turd in the middle of the hallway. So instead of showing me teeth, she left me a turd.
she wants to show you that she has her own mind.
You think you the boss, huh? She looked at me like, "You know I'm the boss." And I said, "You think you're the boss?" And she just looked at me like, "You know I'm the boss." Look, watch out. Yeah, this is a mess right now. Well, I gotta clean it up and get all the supports off on it. When I finish getting all the supports off, wait till you see what this is. I printed this with a filament, a silk filament. And what it is a two color. And I had a little piece of it hanging off the nozzle, so I pulled it, and I got this little piece of angel hair, like it came off on it. Sucker must have been about 8 feet long, and it was wrapped around my arms. I kept feeling I couldn't see it. Boy, was it aggravating.
It's angel hair. Other than pasta.
Yeah, I made one of these last night, and it's going to take me about 15 minutes to get all this crap off of it. But the one I made last night, I don't like it. Because I wanted to paint it, but I think I messed it up, so I'm not going to paint this one. think I know how to take it apart now better than I did last night. Yeah, might be faster than I thought. I don't expect we're gonna see Justin this morning because Tim's on.
Oh, are they still playing?
Well, yeah, Tim's live right now.
Yeah, because when I got up this morning at 5:30, I went and checked, and oh yeah, they were at it.
Mm.
That's Tim said to Justin that he bought another monitor, a better monitor.
Yeah.
Really?
Now that's an obsession. That he's trying to. I'm telling you, when you start getting an obsession like that, I hope it don't bite him in the ass.
Mm.
I think it's all right to get a little bit carried away with things, but obviously there is a limit.
Yeah,
Well,
you
I
can
keep
get
on-
carried away.
I
But you
don't
gotta-
think they're anywhere near the limit, to be fair. I think they just,
Yeah, you
I
got
keep
to have that
going-
moderation though.
Keep going, checking on the DJI store for the Mini 4 Pro refurbished kit, and it's still out of stock.
Okay. How much is it? Mark?
Yeah.
Hey, cool catch you a little bit low.
Oh, sorry. I don't know if you'd heard me.
Take that off.
Justin,
So
Justin, look at this. I'm surprised.
well,
Figured you're on Tim's channel.
no, he's about to
Interesting.
end here in a second.
Mm.
Justin, did you play all night with
Mm.
Tim?
No, I just got up there early this morning.
Mm.
Now I woke up about 5:30 and then I was wide awake. So
Oh, it's about midnight for Tim now, isn't it?
11:30 at night. Yeah,
Mm.
almost midnight.
Well, it's just Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Friday.
Well, it's
Saturday.
Friday night, Saturday morning, yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised
And-
he's getting off.
And Matt will be live tonight too, as well. He'll be live around 8 p.m. Eastern. If he goes on
Yeah.
his normal time.
That'll be Saturday morning their time, yeah.
Then we're gonna start a gaming live probably around 9:30, 10.
Mark, did you say a DJI Mini 4 Pro refurb?
Yeah.
Okay.
To be honest, the refurbished deals from DJI aren't much better than the new, buying it brand new.
To buy the Flymore kit refurbished off DJI, it's £785.
I
To
found
buy
better deals.
to buy the new one, it's £980.
I found better deals on Amazon doing open box with DJI drones back when I was buying them. I got a back when the Mini One first came out. It was I think two or $3.99, $2.99. It was $3.99 for the Flymore kit,
Is that
Mm.
where someone's
and I
just
got
bought
it
and
for
returned it?
180 open box from Amazon.
What does open box mean, Justin? Is it
Somebody
someone
just opened it and returned it.
Oh, got you. Okay.
And when I got it, it was like they never even took it out of the box. All they did was they
Yeah.
broke the plastic around the box off,
Right.
opened it, looked at it, and was like, "Nope, I don't want this," and sent it back because all the
Right.
stickers were still on it. There was nothing. It was still packaged from the factory. You could
That's
tell they didn't take nothing out.
It's probably
Yeah,
because it's
Once
the
the
wrong model
seal
or
is
something.
broken on the box, they can't sell it as new anymore, so they sell it as open box.
Hmm.
I got it for 180 at the time, and it was like $3.99, I think. I got a really good deal on it. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh hell yeah!" I scooped it up real quick. Because at the time, all I had was a Potensic D58, and it was a piece of shit. And I wanted to get a D. Now that was when I started looking into better drones, and I found DJI, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get this."
What was the first
And
one you
then
got?
about
Justin?
the best one I had was the Air
No,
2.
no, no. The first drone.
It was a Potensic D58.
Oh, okay. The one you
It
mentioned.
was a piece of junk. It was a $200 drone. It looked like a Phantom, but it was just really shitty camera, and it got prop wash really bad. Like if you came down too fast, that bitch would want to smack the ground.
It's one
Yeah.
where you
Like
put
there was,
your phone went in it in the controller type thing.
yeah,
Yeah. I've got
3 different
two.
times I had to catch that thing midair coming down because it almost hit the ground.
I've got two Potensic T18s, which were only 1080p.
But the thing
And
is as much as
they were a
those
bit like
Potensic,
JRC.
well, as much as some of those Potensic and Holy Stones cost on Amazon, dude, you might as well get into the Mini Ones or Mini Two price because they're
Right.
at the same prices just about.
Yeah,
You might as well get a Mini One or a Mini Two for those prices.
absolutely.
No, I only paid £40 for the T18 in an aluminium case.
Now,
case
the
is
one I
probably worth
bought
40 quid.
was the Potensic, I think was like 220 or something. 200 around there. But then I got it, and like I said, it was real bad, horrible prop wash. I had at least three times I can remember I had to catch it. And I caught it about 7 or 8 feet off the air. I was able to reach up and grab it right before it hit the ground by the legs because it was kind of like a Phantom.
I didn't see Jonathan writing the money in the
What's up, Jonathan? But
Hi,
it
Jonathan.
was just really shitty camera. It moved up and down, and it was sitting on rubber grommets, so there was like no
Yeah.
stabilization at all, and it was like
Yeah.
720 at best.
And that's not a proper gimbal, no matter what they say. Just moving it up and down. That's not gimbling anything. It's just
No, and there's no videos. Then they don't even have any video stable, like electronic video stabilization. There's nothing, so it's just really bouncy. It's all over the place.
And they do now, but they didn't then. Yeah.
But then when I got that deal on that Mini One, I bought that, and then I bought an Air 2 it was about 4 months later, and then I bought the Mini 2 when it came out. And that was right before the first drone meetup. I bought it. I think it had been out for a few months, and I got it like the day before. Amazon delivered it the day before I left for the meetup. So I only had that night I did all the updates on it and took it for a test flight real quick and made sure everything worked on it. I packed all my shit up and went to the drone meetup. Yeah, I like I liked them back then. I just Drones can be an expensive hobby for sure.
Yep. I will agree
Mhm.
there.
Oh yeah.
Trying to figure out when my new Air 2 is gonna get here.
New Air 2, what?
I
Did
already figured Air 2S. I already figured that
bought-
out. Though.
You bought another one?
Yeah, wait till you hear this one.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
great deal.
For
Another
fuck's
one
sake,
of the-
was it like
Ones where it ain't gonna get there.
$24.99 or something?
Almost.
I must have missed that when he bought that because
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
missed that one.
I didn't
I
hear
think he
about
paid
that one.
$100 for it. For a fly more kit.
It's a Flymore kit for $100, and it comes with a smart controller.
And when is this
Hmm.
supposed to be here? Another smart controller you're not going to use?
Yeah.
You already got. Oh no, you have two now.
I got
Or
two.
one now.
One for the one for the other. Yep. Let me see if I can pull it up here. You'd be happy. I'll
No,
tell you
you
what,
had-
I am tickled to death.
And when is it supposed to be there today?
You're right.
No, sometime before the 20th of May.
It's
Okay.
We're
May,
already
it's
on
May
the-
31st.
First
You
today.
mean June 30th?
Yeah.
That's coming from China.
It's not coming from anywhere.
Okay, I'm going to screen share it. You ready?
Oh, it was 180, Jonathan. I got it for $180 at the time.
We're getting your order ready.
My original Mini I bought
Order number.
second hand as a Flymore kit in a
DJI
hard
Air
case.
2S Flymore combo with
150.
smart controller.
And
Flymore just means
what
an extra
company did
battery,
you
right?
buy this from?
You wrote it off eBay.
The company's name is Company. Uh-oh.
Four
Hmm.
page
Oh,
not
God.
found. That's not good.
I can't even begin to tell you the red flag and flags, red flags all over the place. It's
Paul likes red flags.
yeah, it's just an enormous, giant red flag. I thought you were joking about it, Paul.
Whenever I see anything like that, I just report it to Facebook as a fake.
Right? Yeah.
Well, that
I
was
don't even.
eBay.
I report it to Facebook, but the problem is Facebook allows all that bullshit on their
Yeah,
thing,
they-
so I don't even think
Yeah,
they
I
even
know.
do anything about it.
They do fuck all about it. Yeah.
No.
Because look at the scammy ass ads. Like every ad on Facebook is scammy as shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
always some-
that's the thing is there's people actively paying Facebook, and Facebook's taking their money and not vetting any of the ads.
And
They're just
they're
taking the
part
money.
of it. They're part of the scam. And it's always some guy who left the company because he didn't like something and he was a genius and he had this idea and he wanted people to have good value for money and have this technology that was super, super cool. It's the same, it's like the same thing run over again. Over and
And
over.
they
Same
outright
scam.
steal. And the funny thing is they outright steal Swell Pro. I've seen Swell Pro where they've stole Swell Pro ads. They've stole Alltel ads. They've stole DJI ads and used the ads in their advertisement. And it's like they're not vetting these companies at all, saying, okay, this isn't an authorized DJI seller. Why are they using DJI ads? We're not allowing that on our site. They don't do any of that. They don't vet
No.
anything.
They've been very Chinese about it, which is if it make money, yeah, go for it. Make a bit of money, fine, do it. Who cares? No ethics.
They might remove them after a couple hundred people report it, but I even doubt that,
Yeah.
because the
That sounds
problem is
racist,
these
that. What I meant
companies.
was,
Well, the problem is
CCP.
they set up these companies on Facebook and they're only on there for about a week or two, and then they
Right.
disappear, and then they start a new company name, and then they do it
Yeah.
all over again.
exactly.
Yeah.
See, Facebook and all these companies should be requiring that these companies have a legitimate history to them as well.
Yeah.
If this company hasn't been around for 5-6 years and has some kind of rapport with its customers and people know who they are and have some kind of name for them, they shouldn't be allowing them all these random ass companies to advertise like that.
Yeah. in fact, one of the famous guys, oh dear, I'm going to forget the name of it now. It's an orange label. A guy does computers. You know what I mean? Jay, begins with J. Anyway,
J 2 cents.
no, he's very, very big in computing. Young guy. Okay, I'll think of it in a minute.
Linus
Anyway,
Tech.
there you go, Linus Tech. Linus Tech,
Yeah.
Jay. Anyway, so he did a thing the other day, a clip showing all these things that all these products that were clearly no good, and it was memory. You know, like when people are flogging SD cards that are screwed up, or SD drives where they're selling 60 terabyte, drives, 60 terabyte, mind you, for 50 quid. You know
Yeah,
what I
it
mean?
looks like an external, it would look like the size of a Western Digital external hard drive, but then you pop it open and it's nothing but a 64 gigabyte micro
Right.
SD. And then they put a board in there that
Yep.
reads the card wrong. So then the computer thinks it's 64 terabytes. But then when
Right.
you obviously tear it apart and remove the card, you can clearly see.
Now imagine I hadn't built my imagine I'd never built a computer, right? And came, because you know what I was like a few months ago when I was building mine, right, Justin?
Uh-huh.
Now, so imagine that, but with far less information in my head about what's what and what's possible. You could easily sell someone who was trying to buy a computer, you could easily sell them a 60 terabyte drive for 50 quid, right?
Then they
And
wouldn't have any idea.
yeah, because it wouldn't trigger their bullshit sensor, would it? They wouldn't think, oh, that's
And the thing is if it's like some grandma or something, she's going to start saving shit to it. And what it does too, as well, is it keeps overriding when you hit the memory limit. It overwrites it. So you
Yeah.
think you're adding more to it, but it's just really taking the first amount of stuff you downloaded on it, it's deleting it and then adding the new shit you downloaded on it.
Really? And that's, I suppose that's just so you don't snag as quick as you
Right.
would do.
And then there's a lot of people out there that might buy it and then never notice that, like I said, some old grandma or grandpa that's using it might not notice that. And then by the time that they may figure it out, they're either way past the return policy, or they might just be like, oh, it was $40. I don't give a shit. And then they just, they don't want to deal with trying to get $40 back and they just give up. And by that time, people done sold shit tons of, they could have sold thousands of them to people.
Yeah, that's crazy. And they don't care. They really don't care.
Tony from Quadcopters and Tech?
Yeah.
He was on my show one night and he was like, I bought this drive off of eBay, and he goes, it says it was 64 terabytes. I said, how much did you pay for it? He goes, and he looked up the listing. I think he paid like $30 or $40 for it. And I was like, pop it. I said, all right. I said, take that drive. I said, get a screwdriver and pop it open. I said, I bet you $10 there's a memory card in it.
Right.
There's going to be a micro SD inside there on a little board. And he popped it open, and damn sure if there wasn't a 64 gigabyte memory card in there.
Yourself. You could get a little tiny a SATA board and a thumb drive, and you could just hot glue it in there, and that's what they do anyway, isn't it? And so it
Pretty
looks
much,
okay from the outside.
Yeah, it will look like a legit external hard drive. It'll look like the size of a Western Digital or something. Be a huge casing, but then you pop it open and it's nothing but a little tiny board inside of it.
Yeah.
With a casing that's 5 times the size of it, to make it look beefy and big. And the thing is it probably would look better too if they added a few little weights in there to make it feel heavier. Because that's a big dead giveaway too. When you pick up an external hard drive, if it's super light,
the weight of it, yeah. I suppose if you don't know, you don't know. You know what I mean? You just think, wow. It's an aluminum case.
Jonathan thinks the boat behind you sinking, Paul. On the screen. He said, look at it.
Those are fishermen out there. And this is a local cruise boat that takes tours. You pay like $15 or whatever, and they take you out and about.
Well, what it is it's so small on your screen It looks like the cab of one of the
Cabin.
big ones.
Yeah, it looks like the cabin
Like
of
it
a
done
large
sunk.
ship.
And the cab's just sticking out of the water.
Well, actually, this, I don't know if this is a sheriff boat or a Coast Guard. No, I think it might be a sheriff boat.
Yeah, they're probably checking licenses and stuff, making sure, but he's got their paperwork. So they do
Well,
here
that,
too.
that boat does look like it's listing, but I think it's because all the people have moved over to this side to see what's going on.
That's what they do here. If you're at the lake fishing, the sheriffs will pull up on you and check you. See if you have a license. If you don't have one, they'll get you. Or if the wildlife services guys come by, they see you. If you don't have a license, they'll get you.
In Hawaii, they get on the other side of the reservoir and they'd holler at you and they say, hold your license up, and you hold it up and they get the binoculars up.
Over here, now in Florida, you can fish without a license, but the stipulation is it has to be a bamboo rod and it cannot have a reel.
Really?
But you can,
Yeah.
yes, you can fish with it.
Cane pole.
And if you're over a certain age, I think if you're over 65, you don't even have to have a fishing license.
A
There's an
bamboo
age.
cane, a piece of string, and a bent pin. Yeah.
I think there's a certain age limit too in Florida where you don't have to have that.
Yeah, I think it's 65.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
that's-
thinking is that's up at the mouth of the lake. I'm thinking that it's dead in the water. No, there you go. See, put the motors in forward.
Yeah, they were probably just checking the boat, making sure they were all up to par and all that.
Asking them why they leaning on one side.
That
Well,
means
if you look on top, you see all this here? That's all the people that normally would be sitting over here. They've all gone to that side of the boat to see what's going on with this boat.
so after August, I won't need a fishing license in Florida.
And in Florida too, if you want to run around with your AR-15, just carry a fishing pole with you.
Yeah.
Because you're allowed to open carry if you're hunting, camping, or fishing.
No
There
shit.
you
So
go.
you know,
Is that
the-
true?
yeah,
So if you've got a fishing rod with you, you can open carry an AR.
yep. And guys do it all the time down in Miami. There's tons of videos on YouTube. They go down there just to prove a point that they can carry it, and they'll be down there strapped up looking like they just came out of Afghanistan,
Like an
and they'll
operator.
just be down there fishing off the pier.
That's fucking bananas. So,
But in
what if-
Florida, you can carry a gun concealed without no permit or anything, as long as you're not a felon. You can
Right.
anybody can carry a gun as long as they're a resident. And
So imagine
They
if it's
don't
a
have a
collapsible
permit.
fishing rod. I had a collapsible fishing rod that used to break down into what 7 or 8 pieces of 12-inch carbon. So I could still have a fishing rod and kind of wear it on my belt. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I've
And
got
still,
a
still
Shakespeare
fishing.
telescopic rod.
Oh, nice.
yeah, they'll definitely come up and they'll check you. But yeah, there's tons of times where people do that. They do these little gun things down in Miami and different areas along the coast. They'll go down there and they'll all walk together in these big groups, all
Yeah, they call
strapped
that
up.
the operator fishing loadout. That's what I want. Not sure it'll go down to well in England though.
No,
West
but if
Bay.
you moved to Florida and you became a resident,
Yeah.
you could go to the gun store, buy a gun, and stick it in your pocket. You're good to go
Cool.
and walk around all day with it.
I'm all right there. I
Yep.
mean, I like guns, but I'm not that interested in them.
Yeah, you don't have to have any paperwork or anything. Like no, you don't have to have any kind of permit or nothing. And then there's other states that are completely open carry, like Arizona and Texas. You can just literally get out of your truck with an AR on your back for no reason and just be walking down the street. They
Like
can't say
rifle
anything to
shooting.
you.
Are you any good at rifle shooting? Jason likes that. He likes marksmanship and stuff.
Yeah, his brother Ted's really into it. His brother Ted's into competitions and stuff.
I can't tell the two apart when I hear them in the audio. They sound they sound the same.
Yeah, it's
Jason and Ted. Are they twins?
there's a lot of states down here though you can open carry. North Carolina's another one.
Yeah. Is Jason?
Florida might as well went to constitutional carry. I don't know why they didn't. I mean, if you can carry one in your pocket without getting in trouble, I don't see why you can't have it on your hip.
Is Jason
Yeah.
and Ted twins?
No, his brother's younger than him.
Oh, is it? Oh,
So-
okay.
Yeah, I asked him one day and he said that his Ted's the younger one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jason's pretty cool though, isn't he? With his cowboy hat, his gun and that. That's awesome.
Well, see, and that's why I told him that day on his live stream when he had his gun on his hip. I said, you might not want to have that on your hip when you're doing your videos. And he was like, I know, but I'm not open and brandishing it. But then not even 2 weeks later is when they got him for panning the camera at that gun. Even though he wasn't violating community guidelines, it's better just to not deal with that at all. Just don't have it on you.
I know what
Because
you mean.
the algorithm, the AI isn't going to pick up whether, obviously it couldn't
which state you're
distinguish
in.
that he was.
Yeah.
Well, the thing
Yeah.
was, is it couldn't even distinguish whether he was holding it or was mounted on the wall. It just saw a gun and was like, nope, that's it.
Right. Yeah.
So to prevent your channel from getting shut down unintentionally and you having to go through that again, it's best just to not show it at all. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Just not.
Yeah, but there's
Because even though, like I said, he didn't get in trouble for that, and they did take the strike off and said, yeah, you did not violate our community guidelines, he still
Yeah.
had to deal with that for 2 days. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
best, to me, in my opinion, it's best that he just not wear the gun at all while he's on live stream. Just
sure,
in my
but
opinion.
there is another side of this, which is that and I feel it too, that because it's Jason and he's in his house and he wants to carry that, he wants to have that gun on him, and it's and it's a good
Oh, I
idea.
understand that. I mean,
But the thing is, like there's a kind of a bloody mindedness sometimes about. I have the same kind of thing, where I kind of do things to kind of make a point. Right? Sometimes I probably shouldn't, admittedly. And the thing is, you are making sensible sense here, Justin. But I think there's a part of me, if I was in Jason's shoes, I would say, no, fuck it. It's up to them to have their AI crunch this properly. I'm gonna do what I gotta do and wear this gun on my hip and fuck them.
It happened to Jason too?
yeah, it wasn't a problem. That's what I'm saying, Jonathan. But he was filming at work, doing a video of for his boss, and he panned the camera to a Mini 14 replica. It wasn't even a real gun; it was a replica that was up on the wall. And they kicked him off YouTube for 2 days while they had to sort it out for him.
Yeah, look what Jonathan's written there in the chat. So I remember that he was doing a speech thing. Not a speech. What the fuck am I about? He was doing a classroom full of people. So he was teaching them something, and he was up there with a whiteboard, and it was at his workplace. And he had the gun then on his hip, no problem, no issues. It was okay.
Oh yeah,
That's wrong.
do I?
It's going to take the right person with the right money to turn around and go after YouTube for something like that one day.
The whole problem is though, is YouTube's a private entity, so really can't do a whole lot. Like people try to say, oh well, since they're setting rules, they technically are a publisher, but at the same time, your constitutional rights don't apply to a private entity. That only applies to the government. So if you can go on, you can go on YouTube or you can go on Facebook all day long, talk shit about the government. They can't do nothing about it. But if you go on there and start talking shit about your company that you're working for, they have every right to fire you over that. And there's nothing you can do about it.
They can fire you for your hairstyle. They don't have to have a reason.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you can't really put your constitutional rights towards stuff like that as much as you would want to.
Yeah,
it doesn't technically apply because all that is there for is to keep the government in check, not private companies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's really nothing you can do about it. I mean, you could sue YouTube. I mean, Steven Crowder sued him over them trying to shut his channel down, you know, because he was very right wing. And YouTube kind of caved in when he sued him, you know, when he was about to take him to court. They caved in and kind of now they're not really fucking with him anymore because of it. But he also had money. He's multimillionaire, you know, he has the ability. He has a lawyer that's literally on his show that does a show with him, and that's his lawyer. I mean, he's a damn good lawyer too. But he actually,
it's going to take someone. It's going to take someone with fuck you money, you know, as they say, as the expression goes. And I suppose fuck you money is what a few billion.
yeah, YouTube is an American company. It's owned by Google, which is American. It's owned by ABC. What is it? The parent company of Google and YouTube is ABC or something like that. There's actually a parent company over both of them. I think it's called ABC or something like that. And but no, it's an American platform. I mean, if you really look at it, all the software that 90% of people around the world use is all American software. Android, iPhones, right? Like Samsung isn't an American company, but it uses American software to run their phones. So you really don't have much of a choice when it comes to certain things like what's the dominant computer operating systems out there? Windows, American platform. Apple, American platform. If that's one thing the US does is kind of dominant and is the tech industry. Like I said, if you look at the top 100 tech companies in the world, 60 of them are all US companies.
Yeah, Silicon Valley had a real head start with that, and it was good for them to get all that going in the early days. I mean, that's why you don't have to write your address in the internet if you're in America, whereas I have to write
Here.
UK or whatever. You don't.
Well, think about this too. Why do you think you guys get all the updates first for Google and stuff, right? It ain't because they want to give you guys the updates first because you're special. It's they're using you guys as a testing. Right, because they're not going to release an update in the US, which is they're one of their biggest markets, and have it fuck up a bunch of shit. So what they do is they release one in Australia, they'll release one in Europe, you know, in a couple of European countries, and they'll let it sit for a few weeks and they'll test it, see how it runs.
No, you're right. I think to some extent, a lot of companies do that with their gear. They know that let's say they know that they're not 100% sure that this software is going to be okay, but you know,
it's Alphabet Incorporated as the parent company of Google and YouTube.
But they think, you know what, we'll release the software anyway. If something goes wrong, what's the worst thing that could happen? You know, it is a little bit irresponsible. And I think in an ideal world, you would want that update software to be as bug-free as possible, and guaranteed bug-free, because of course it's, you know, other people's gear that it's going to be going in. And it could be costly.
And Ronnie's 100% correct about that. I mean, you got to remember, CEOs of companies, they're human too, and they have their own political views. And unfortunately, most of the tech industry, their political views are kind of this really, really like left, kind of real leftist, kind of crazy thinking.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why Elon bought Twitter.
Yeah.
It was to prove a point. It was a big flex on the tech industry. That I could come in and I can buy you if I want to.
Yeah.
That's what it was. He didn't dude, he wasn't worried about losing $40 billion. He could make that back in a couple of years.
And I love that he did it, you know, and I've got to say, I've got to admit, at the time, I didn't really understand it. I didn't understand just how brilliant it was, but everything about it, you know, when it started to click after a couple of days, I just thought, my God, that's fucking genius. You know, and then he's saying, you know, I'm doing it because I'm wanting to save free speech, you know, free expression, you know, the right to do what we should be able to do. And I just think that's incredible. What a thing to do.
Well, and it kind of showed you too, because the left had such a strong presence on the internet as
Didn't they,
far
though?
as a lot of the social media platforms. But then when Elon came in and he actually went through their system and they started
Yeah.
like executing all the bots that were in their system,
Yeah.
like and realizing that there wasn't as many users on Twitter as they thought
And they
were.
had tons of people
A
who
lot of the leftist channels almost
Yeah.
lost over half their subscriber base overnight because they were all
Right.
fake accounts.
And he
And then
turfed
all of
out
a
all this
sudden,
DI shit as well, and fucking all sorts of things that were just useless. You know, half the staff, more than half, ended up getting booted out because they weren't they weren't there for any reason. They were just dead weight.
I would say, Ronnie, it depends on what state you're in too, though. There's a good 30 something states that are pushing against all that stuff, which is a good thing. Like Florida, Texas, there's Tennessee. There's a lot of states that are pushing against a lot of that crap. And there's actually a majority of more states pushing against that are for all that crazy shit.
For God's
It's a
sake,
lot of it's just unfortunately, it's the big populated states that are going fucking nuts, like California, New York.
don't quote factual statistics, Ronnie. We don't like that. They'll just ban you. And you can see that they're losing the kind of argument. You know, when they just straight out assassinate you, really, and that's what it is. When they turn you off, when they say, no, hang on, we don't want you to say anything, and they turn you off, you're really
I think
showing them, you're showing that person that you're afraid of what they're going to say. That's it.
The thing is if you keep a good pushback on it, right? Like there's been a huge pushback on that stuff. A lot of famous people are starting to come out that there's a lot more famous people that are starting to come out that are not with it. And they're like, all right, I'm done with this bullshit. But if you keep a good, consistent push against it, it's really, if you look at it over time, it's just a fad. Eventually it will fade off.
God, I hope so.
Just take the 60s, for example, the whole hippie thing. That was a fad that a lot of regular hardworking Americans didn't agree with because what it was, a bunch of lazy hippies not wanting to work and doing whatever. And were anti-war and anti-military, right? You kind of had a little bit of that same mindset back in the 60s.
You know what the confusing thing is now? The so-called left are the most pro-war, racist, disgusting, horrible bastards that you could ever imagine. And they're tricking other people. They're capturing them, if you like, idealistically. So they believe they're doing the right thing. It's crazy.
It's like voter ID laws over here, right? They say, the left tries to say voter ID laws are racist. And it's and then you ask them, somebody that's for that thinks that that's the reason. You ask them, well, why is it racist? And they say, well, minorities don't know how to go get an ID.
Right, exactly. That's what they call the racism of low expectations. The thing is,
you're telling me that
on someone else.
You're telling me that a Mexican person or a black person or whatever
they're too stupid
are too stupid to go get an ID. Really, that's what you're demeaning them, saying that they're too dumb to do that.
Yeah,
that's not. They all have everybody in this country has to have a license or ID to do anything.
Right, exactly.
Whether you want to go get cigarettes at the store, everybody has a fucking license or ID.
I know. Why wouldn't they?
There are some people out there that don't have that stuff because they might have went to jail and it expired while they were in there and stuff like that. But they can get that fixed. But your majority regular people that are on the streets, you have to have that to do anything. To register a car, to go to, just to go to get cigarettes here at my any of the places around here that sell cigarettes, dude, they still ID people that clearly look like they're in their 50s. They'll still ask them for their ID.
Yeah, everybody, if they're going to
buy
interact with society at any level, you're going to have ID. So everyone has it. So
and that's the thing, Ronnie, too, is if you look at Florida, for example, if you take a look, like I've made this point before, if you take a look at the last election here for governor, Florida used to be decided by a small point margin. Like it was very small, like whether one side won or another. He won by almost right under 1 million votes. And that was right before all this mass exodus of people moving around the country and starting to move to other states. So that gives you a good idea who is moving to Florida when you have that big of a push on one side that has never been that way before. It's always been decided by a slight margin, right?
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, DeSantis runs again, and he was just voted in by. I mean, it was just a huge one-sided, lopsided victory, pretty much.
Mm.
So. And that's what I'm saying. Those laws are so stupid. I hate that people try to say those type of laws are racist. All the voter ID laws is to make sure you're a citizen when you vote. That's it.
Right.
It has
yeah.
nothing
And
to do with
alive.
anything else.
Yeah, like alive, breathing. You know, because you have your ID in your hand, and you're not a corpse,
Exactly.
you
And like I said,
exist.
anybody, no matter if you're black, white, Mexican, Asian, don't matter. You have to have an ID or a license to do anything in this country. Whether you want to buy cigarettes, you want to register your car, you want to go get, get a copy of your birth certificate, you want to go get a new social security card, you have to have that to do any of that stuff. If you want to go open a bank account, you got to have an ID. I mean, it's fucking stupid to say that those are that it's okay for that they can have an ID for everything else, but that one thing all of a sudden they don't know how to get an ID. Like, really? That to me, that's just demeaning people saying that they're idiots when they're not.
They even asked a bunch of people in the street, didn't they? They'd stop black people and go, "Hey, do you have ID?" And they go, "Yeah, here you go. I've got here it is." And they go, "No, we don't want to see it. We're just asking. We're doing they did a survey, didn't they? It was like a
Yeah, and
Vox
they
Pop
asked
stop on the
them.
street survey.
They
Everyone,
they
and by the way,
and they were actually gave directions to the DMV.
Yeah, every fucking one of them. Yeah, here it is. Yeah.
Yeah, they were. One guy was like, "Yeah, the DMV's like right down on 34th Street. Like that's where I went and got mine at."
That's
Like
right.
he was like, "What the fuck?" Like, yeah, like they were. But then you were asking a bunch of white liberals, and they were all pretty much saying they were stupid. They weren't so much saying it, but they were saying it in a nice way
They were implying
that minorities are
or
idiots.
inferring that minorities are too stupid to have ID because who said it? Was it Pelosi about computers? Oh, because black people they won't know how to use a computer. It's complicated for them or something. I don't know.
Well, listen to the
It was the
racist shit that has come out of Biden's mouth over the years.
Yeah.
He says the quiet stuff out loud, right? He's a racist, clearly, but he's saying stuff, and his handlers must be going bonkers behind the scenes, like, oh, quick, shut him up, or something.
He actually showed up to a KKK member's funeral and said that he was one of his inspirations for his career. Now, come on. That's just one of many things that have been proven. This isn't just like conspiracies that this is shit that is fact.
Oh, yeah.
That he has said about people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially Biden back in the 70s. Oh yeah, he even said that he didn't want his kids going to schools where there was mixed races. I don't remember the exact way he said it, but that was pretty much the statement.
He didn't want them going to school in a jungle.
Yep, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was referring to the segregated schools being unsegregated.
Yeah. But when
how they made them unsegregated.
When you realize now what's happened is it's kind of come full circle in that kind of political horseshoe theory, where what's happening now is that leftists are asking for segregation again, right? They're saying that we want meetings at schools, meetings where no white people are allowed. We want white people free days and days where black people only, and white people only, and it's insanity.
There should be no segregation for anybody.
Ever. No, ever.
No.
There should be no segregation ever. If you go to a meeting in which is excluding any race at all, it's fucked up. And that's the rule. I don't know why, I don't know what happened, but somewhere along the line, someone forgot that. Someone forgot or needs to be reminded, maybe, historically speaking, that segregation is terrifyingly bad. It's a bad idea.
What's his name? Oh, he's a famous actor. He played in Bruce Almighty. He played
Oh, you're
God.
Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman, yeah,
Morgan
about Black Day,
Freeman.
Black History Month. He said, "Well, Black. Do you want to hit Black History Month? I don't want a Black History Month. I'm just a man. I'm not a black man. My name is Morgan Freeman. I'm a man. I'll call you a man. All this sort of thing." That discussion was perfect. What a fucking perfect
And
thing
he
to say.
said he said he goes, "You don't think that people are he goes, you don't think that there's a problem with
Ironic.
he was pretty much trying to get Morgan Freeman to go along with his white privilege,
Right, yeah.
whole white privilege thing. And Morgan Freeman said, dude, I'm proof, you're proof
Yeah.
that you can make it if you work hard. He goes, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. He goes, just work hard. He goes, I'm proof. He goes, I'm an actor. I make millions of dollars. He goes, I made it.
Mm.
He goes, we don't need, he goes, the best way to end racism is stop talking about it and stop
Yeah.
making it a point of discussion for everything. Dude, I love that interview he
Jonathan
did.
in the chat said, "Did Biden really say that about the schools?"
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he did.
He did indeed.
He said multiple racist things, and all the shit that they tried to say Trump said that was racist. If you actually go back and watch the full clips that the
In
news
context,
organizations took and clipped up to make it sound bad,
Yeah.
then you realize he actually didn't say anything racist.
Right. They're
Like when
taking it out
people
of
were saying
context.
he said Mexicans were trash. No, he said MS-13 and the Mexican gangs were trash.
Yeah.
He didn't say Mexican people were trash, but then they tried to say that he was saying Hispanics were all trash. That's not what he said. He said the gangs that are coming from Mexico and Brazil and all these other countries in South America, he said those people are trash and we need to deal with them. But the news took that news story and they chopped it up to make it sound like he said Hispanics are trash. Like they took all that little bit out and then pieced it back together.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
CNN, CNN has been sued over AT&T actually owns CNN, and they were actually about to sell CNN about 2-3 years ago because CNN has been sued. There's been over $1 billion worth of lawsuits against CNN over them lying in news stories about different situations, and AT&T was losing a lot of money because of it, and they almost sold CNN because of it, because it was becoming such a problem for them.
Yeah.
Because they were being sued so much because they were outright lying so much. Not to say other news organizations don't lie, all of them do on both sides. They'll twist things to fit their narratives a lot of times, but CNN is the worst one out of all of them. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
They
Morning,
are the
Donald.
worst. What's up, Donald?
Hey, Donald. Good morning.
I don't praise a news station on either side. I don't say Fox News is good. I don't say any of the news stations are good. But there's some that are worse than others, and CNN is the worst one out of all of them. You can go back and look at the amount of times they've been sued for defamation.
We're trying to be
It's insane.
as apolitical as possible. In that we are just saying things that are balanced, I think. I hope.
But like I said, if you look at the amount of lawsuits that CNN has gotten for defamation and lying, it's just it translates into the hundreds of millions to billions of dollars that they've had to go to court over.
I think they just take it in their stride, though, don't they? They just pay it and get on with it, and still pump out,
If anything,
extremist
Al just turned
propaganda.
him into a martyr, so it might have been a good thing he was convicted of it because it just turned him into a martyr pretty much.
If you're reading the comments, it's probably better to read out the comment.
And you are 100% accurate about that, Ronnie, about the KKK. The Republicans were the ones that were fighting all that, not the Democrats.
Ronnie says, if you look up the KKK founders, they now point the finger at the Republican Party. The Republican Party is the party that ended slavery. Well, we knew that anyway, historically. I'll tell any American, regardless of their skin color, to put on Biden's shirt, flags, etc., and attend the Trump rally. you'll be accepted 100%. That is true as well. Put on a Trump shirt and attend a Biden event. Oh yeah, it would be a very, very different experience. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, there was a guy that was on YouTube that went to a Trump rally and he was Democrat. And he decided, I want to go there and just see if the news is saying what I've been hearing on the news, that they're violent, they're nasty, they're mean. He showed up there, people sat there and listened to his side of things. They weren't nasty to him, they didn't say anything to him negative. They sat there and listened to his viewpoints and they talked back and forth.
Disagreed with him. Fucking hell. But when you disagree with a kind of extremist lefty, it's insane. You'll be lucky to get out there with your life. You get fucking lynched, dragged out your car. I don't know, whatever. It's just crazy tribal bullshit. Now, that's not to say, let's give it some balance. That's not to say there aren't tribalists on all sides, mind.
No, there is. There definitely is.
There definitely is, yeah.
I used to be more in the middle on the political spectrum back in the day. And then after 2020, it was like, I don't know, dude. I kind of felt like I had to pick a side and I just could not get on board with the whole lefty shit.
Michael, I think it's a disservice to talk about the insane lefties and kind of apply that to general people who are from a different perspective, because they're not all violent. And to make that, we're kind of going down. People are saying that now we should turn the tables on them and take them to court for whatever, or take the other side to court for whatever reason. And it's like, you realize this is just and that's the problem. When one side respects law and the other side uses it as a means of power, there's a power imbalance, and it is a impossible game to win. If you're playing Monopoly and somebody's playing by different rules, and you insist on playing the correct way, you can't win that game. It's stacked against you.
See, I separate what you call lefties from Democrats, because I actually know quite a few Democrats that are good people. They believe in the Constitution. They believe in freedom of speech, the right to own guns. They believe in all the values that we consider our country to be.
And the problem is that I'd say with this conviction,
I separate that.
Yeah, well, I'd say with this guilty verdict, he hasn't been convicted yet. He's not technically convicted until he gets sentenced.
Right.
But with this verdict from the jury, people will only respect a decision if they have trust in the system.
Right.
I mean, not to make the comparison that to say Trump is equal to this other person, but this other person was convicted. Nelson Mandela was convicted legally, and we all can look now and say it was unjust. We don't have faith in the system that convicted him. And that's we can look at it from outside, but
I'm not super familiar with the Mandela case, so I can't speak on
it comes down to, do people have faith in the system? And right now, half the country doesn't have faith. Well, probably more than half of the country does not have faith in our legal system.
I would agree with that 100%.
But the best thing that could happen right now is for Biden to come out and just issue a blanket pardon and say, listen, for the sake of not tearing this country apart, let's do a pardon. But instead, I guarantee they're talking about, how are we going to message this? How are we going to turn this into a message?
And I agree with you on that too. If he did that, that would show some character that a lot of people doubt him having. And it would ease tensions between the two sides. Because he'd be able to still run without any worry of what's going on. And it would be a fair, race as far as that would go. And yeah, I think I agree with that. I think it would definitely ease a lot of tension.
By the way, 1 second, just let me clarify. Whenever I do refer to extremist lefties, I always make sure that I specifically say extremist lefties. When I say that, I'm not just referring to a kind of blanket lefty type thing. I'm a lefty myself, but here's the thing: I will make that distinction before I say something. And if I do make, let's say, a generalization, there'll always be a disclosure that it's a generalization. Do you know what I mean? I'll say, hey, in general, etc.
Okay, I may have misunderstood.
It's okay. No, I don't think you did misunderstand it. I understood your point. You were right.
And
just thought I'd clarify.
that's the truth, Ronnie. I mean, what Donald's saying is just wishing that would happen, but we all know it's not going to. But it's a good idea. I mean, it makes sense.
Well,
I think that would be a good thing.
And that's the thing. It's so insane, and both sides keep on being compartmentalized and pushed apart. Up at the lodge, there's a guy. He's a lifelong Democrat, and he won't change his mind for anything. And everyone else up there is conservative. People come in wearing their Trump hats, and they're not supposed to, or they'll come in and be, let's go Brandon, that kind of stuff. And he just comes up there and he sits down at the bar and he has a couple beers and just sits there just quiet. And I show up, I talk to him about all kinds of crazy stuff. But it's like
everyone should be like that. Should be. Political views should be shared and talked about and discussed, but getting emotionally kind of invested and kind of so team motivated and tribal about something like that is fucking crazy. It does no one any good. But it's the mechanisms that are pushing this tribalism, which are the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about
I think it's the rise of social media, that the algorithm wants to feed you stuff that you interact with, and the things that you interact with that catch your attention are things that you really hate, that you respond to, you want to just you really hate, or things that you really like.
Right.
There's no middle ground on what the algorithm's not seeking middle ground. They're seeking the most extreme reaction from you,
right,
positive or negative, and that shapes society.
And negative, unfortunately, has a bigger, I think, reaction with people than positive does.
Yeah, that's why I
create more traffic.
I will periodically in fact, I uninstalled Twitter, the app, from any of my devices. To go to Twitter, I now actually have to go into the browser and actually open it up. And I'm thinking about signing out every time that I leave Twitter, because it remembers that you're signed in. So when next time you type in Twitter, it immediately opens up, and it makes it easy. So I set up these roadblocks to myself to limit my access to it, because it's like, I don't want to have to go through that trouble of logging in, where instead of just clicking on it. And so I need to log in. What's my password for that? And figure that out. So I put up roadblocks to myself to limit myself, because I'm human. I know my weaknesses, and so.
Sensible, yeah. The guy that I listened to on his podcast, Sam Harris, was talking about that, why he deleted his Twitter account, and for the same kind of reasons, really, just for his own peace of mind. And he identified how the Twitter algorithm was taking advantage of his brain chemistry, and he did go into a little bit of detail, which I can't really remember, but I mean, he's a neurologist, so he didn't spare the details. He just went straight into it.
Who was?
And well,
I was just trying to think who was on Joe Rogan's not too long ago, and he asked him about
sometimes.
Well, he asked him about social media, and he pulled out a flip phone. He goes, "I don't even have a smartphone." He goes, "I don't have any accounts to anything," and that was his kind of way of distancing himself.
Part of me thinks that'd be great to do.
What's up, Lance?
To make it where the only time that you can go on to social media or onto YouTube or onto TikTok or anywhere and just your brain goes away, you have to sit down at a chair and actually use a dedicated device for that. It's the constant. You're got 10 minutes and you got your phone out.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because this thing is sending you those little dopamine hits constantly.
And it's an attention sponge. It just kind of gets in there,
Hmm.
saps it all away.
It's like, oh, did I just hear a message? Ding ding.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
I have
Now
to
we get
answer.
to do
I
some.
have to answer it right now.
Hooray!
Now we get to do some lip reading. Go ahead and talk, Joy.
That's right.
Can you
He's
hear
just
me
hopping on
okay?
here to tell me I'm right.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I was just watching the chat and I saw what God Bless America put in talking about we will never a lawful country when the unlawful are controlling the laws. And I like to go to a historical fact and say, how far back do we need to reach on this question? Because we can go back to the people who showed up on these shores in the 1600s, because that is the way most society is. Those in power make the rules. So you can apply that to any civilization. You can apply that to our own history, because that's basically how the Constitution was written. There were some people with some social conscience, but you look at the Constitution and it definitely favored those who were in power. And like I said, and somebody mentioned about our two-tiered justice system. You have no idea how long that has been a ongoing scenario or question. And I always make this running joke about who are our fastest growing millionaires in the country. And I say either you're Native American with a casino on your land, or you're African American who's been wrongfully convicted and served time or killed by law enforcement. Fastest growing millionaires in America. Right there.
Yeah, fastest growing billionaires are politicians.
Yeah, billionaires. I'm just talking about millionaires. So people understand millions a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you look
Overturning
at
and
two-tiered justice system. I said, how come we're going back now that the technology has allowed not just a few folks, we're talking about hundreds, thousands of people who are getting let loose out of jails for being wrongly convicted. And their biggest problem is they didn't have the resources to fight the system.
Mhm.
So the system has always been two-tiered for those who didn't have the means to get a proper defense to protect themselves.
Yep.
Well, I mean,
So
look
they're
at
subject to the
freaking
system.
look at damn what is it, the public defenders, the half of them, they just want to plea everything out.
Well, that's just my whole
They don't-
point.
they
That's
don't
the thing.
know how
It's
to
the
fight
it's
it.
it's the lazy way, and that's why there's so many wrongful convictions. Is because
Right.
they stop looking. They find the answer they want, and that's the answer, and they're going to prove
Well,
their
it's-
answer
Right,
instead of
the
finding the truth.
accepted answer. It's the accepted answer.
Yeah,
Like I said,
because they'll tell-
the person doesn't have the means to pay
mean-
for someone to do a better job.
Yeah, they'll tell somebody, it was only an ounce of weed, plead guilty, will get you no jail time. But guess what? That's still on your record.
DNA
and most
testing
people are
has
going to take it because they don't want to go to jail.
DNA has been
So-
one of the greatest tools for true justice in the last century. Fingerprints, but DNA has overturned
Oh yeah.
so many cases and also
saved
found the actually guilty through those related
Right.
like DNA,
Yep.
23andMe programs. It's
Mhm.
30 years later.
Oh, what's
police
great
were
about
getting
that is
arrested.
the law enforcement can go to those without a warrant now and just say, hey, we have this DNA. Does it match anybody in your system? They'll be like, yeah, sure. And they'll send it off to them just like as a regular customer. And then 23andMe sends it back. And then they're like, that's how they caught that dude here in Florida. Our sheriff, but like 6 or 8 months ago, he caught a guy from a cold case from like 30 years ago because they decided we're going to send this off to university. University sent it out to a bunch of those DNA companies. And
That's how
they
they
got a
caught the-
hit on the killer's son.
yeah, that's how they caught the Golden Gate killer in California.
Yep. Off of a pizza napkin.
Yeah, because some family member will say, I want to learn about my history. They'll send their blood off or their DNA off. to a company, and then all of a sudden they, law enforcement sends it in, and then they say, "Oh, that's a familiar match to."
But yeah, to Dre's point, yeah, going back through human history, it has always been about those with power and those without power. But of course, our system suffers from the same problems.
Mhm.
And who was it who said that it's the worst system imaginable except for all the others?
Right. Yeah. I think it was
It's like
Churchill.
it's like you can't compare it to a utopia,
Mm.
but that's not to say you can't try to improve it.
Yeah. So democracy is the
They-
best system apart from all the rest, or something like that. I believe.
Yeah,
Probably.
I can't remember who
But
said
they-
that.
They consider money to be power, and it isn't.
Money is power.
It is.
Actually, money is a symptom of power.
Yeah, but having money doesn't necessarily mean you've got power. It just
can.
means
Right.
But it allows you to have the means to gain power.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
Exactly.
money itself is not the power, but the value of the money lends it the power. And like I said, because of
Yeah.
all our monetary systems on this planet,
Yeah.
those with it are easily able to gain power than those without it.
And if someone is selling power, then someone is buying it. It's like
That's right.
economics 101. A product or service is worth precisely what someone is willing to pay for it. That is it. Full stop.
Right. I say the value of it. That's all it is, the value of it.
Mhm.
So
Right,
that's what
That
that's why I
reminds me, I
said,
gotta
though,
pay my power bill today.
yeah, you do that because they will cut you off
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Up, Curtis.
because you won't have no power.
Yeah, I got a past due notice today.
Oh, actual power. Right, I get it.
Bill came out 10 days ago and I get a past due notice today.
Yeah.
That's one of the nice things about being registered disabled.
Well,
You don't-
well,
Bill and the electric company can't cut you off.
well, here in America, they don't really care if you're disabled to afterwards. They'll come get their money or take their power or take their gas or electricity away. Then when you plead that I'm disabled, they're like, okay, we'll cut you some slack. But up front, they're coming after
They
their
don't
money.
give a crap.
Good morning,
Are you-
Curtis and Lance.
Actually, if you're disabled, you register with the power and the gas and people like that as a vulnerable person. And they're not
I
allowed
know
to
they
do it.
have, I think you see, all of our utilities here in America are technically privately owned. They are regulated by the government, but they are privately owned, so they don't
Ours-
have to abide by those type of regulations unless they are being nice to the public.
No, ours are privately owned.
But part of the regulatory responsibilities is that you must adhere to what you're talking about, program that allow people to register as critical or at risk individuals. Not every area, every state in America has that built in. I know here in California, they have programs like that for those who are we call at risk or critical, but other states may not have it.
Like if you're on like at home hospice or something, you might be hooked up to machines and they can't turn it off or something, or oxygen machines. Or
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
the thing, but the problem with that is, now the way our system for electricity is, we're on grid system, so it's hard to identify in the individual house
right.
to leave the power on for that house, and the house next door has no power. Now, for far as you not paying the bill, okay, that's a whole different scenario. But as far as something happens, that loss of power happens to the grid, hey, everybody's on their own.
I think our word
regardless of your statuses.
I think our word vulnerable
Yeah,
is
but then that's a very vague term. Because
critical risk.
yeah, like I said, very a vague term. Just like even critical or at risk is a vague term, because everybody's going to be always consider themselves as vulnerable or at risk or critical based upon their own personal physical situation, economic situation, or whatever. Everybody's going to have a reason to dip their toe in the pool to say, I want to be protected.
Mm. That was something that I was mentioned yesterday, that the Constitution can only be changed by Congress.
Yes.
Do Congress have carte blanche over changing any part of the Constitution, or
Eh,
do they have to go through the people first?
Well, it's that's why we have a three-tiered system. Congress can initiate a change. The Senate is kind of like the check and balance of the Congress, and then you have the courts to see if it's even constitutional in the end. And then you have the presidential signing of it. I should say the
And in
presidential
order
signing.
to change the Constitution, it has to go through all three of those and then be voted, because it's a constitutional change, has to be voted then by the public.
Well, I think
So-
it has to be ratified by at least 3/4 of the state.
Populace
Yeah,
have
yeah,
a-
it's the states have to do it, yeah.
The states have to do it, not the
Yeah.
actual public, but the states have to ratify it. So they basically saying that 3/4 of the states say, well, okay, we all agree. And go from there.
And that's a big task.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
what,
they
that's
can
what, that's
change
why
the-
it's hard.
They can't change
Hmm.
the fundamentals of the Constitution, they can only do amendments to it.
Right, and that's why I say it's not, well, like I say, a change or amendment, which is technically a change or enhancement. But that's why I said the basic Constitution is still intact, is just we've added several amendments since its inception. And that's why you
Well-
have that argument, is the Constitution a living document or is it as it's written? Because we have made changes over the last 240 odd years to it. Amendments.
Well,
Well,
has
it's
to
both.
be- It has to be flexible in a certain way because of the way that technology and the way that we live changes. You can't say something 250 years ago applies now
Why not?
because of the changes in the way that we actually live.
Okay, give an example.
I know you can say that the fundamentals still exist, but
Right.
there
So
are
so give an
things
example.
that they said happened 250 years ago
Well,
that won't happen now.
right. The Constitution, it is a living document in the fact that it can be amended. That's the concept of it being a living document. The interpretations being interpreted according to today versus how they were intended, that is not the living part of the document. If you want to change the intent of the Constitution, you need to amend it with your new intent.
But
so you have to take
everything in the
you have to take into the intent of what it was written for. I mean, that's just
Yeah, but if you look at most of the amendments, like freedom of speech, or like if you look at like freedom of speech, the right to own and bear arms, that doesn't really change because we've gotten more technologically advanced. I
yeah.
don't
So,
see how that has anything
Mark,
to do
Mark,
with that
what
particular part.
what example would you say would support what you were saying? Or
I wouldn't say that I would know anything about the Constitution because obviously it has no effect on me. So I don't particularly know the ins and outs of it. I'm just saying
what would
the fact
happen?
that we have advanced in society so much in that amount of time. Is some of the stuff that was written into the Constitution viable anymore?
Well, if it's not, then if society changes enough that it needs to be changed, then it shouldn't be a new interpretation of what was written. It should be an amendment to clarify based on our new ideas. So, just to take, for example, freedom of the press. At the time, I mean, you had the printing press. You had limited means of communication. Okay,
Yeah.
Should that apply? Should freedom of speech apply to the internet because we didn't have that technology then? Well, of course it should apply. So there are some, even though we have advanced in technology and stuff, the underlying concepts are the same. You have to
Yeah, I don't-
say what was the intent of this, and you can apply it to newer technology, but what was the intent for this? And if the intent does not match up with what society wants, then you revise the Constitution.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of things that we have access to, and things that we live by now have definitely changed over those years.
Of course. No one's saying that, and that's why there is the amendment process built into the Constitution. They were smart enough to say, okay, we don't know everything that's going to happen. We don't know enough.
Right.
They admitted to their own basically ignorance of the future and said this is going to have to be revised in the future to fit the people
Yeah.
who are living in that
Well,
time.
I mean, they have
But
their own
unfortunately-
historical knowledge.
Yeah, but unfortunately, instead of revising the Constitution, people try and take an easier route around it and get things changed through reinterpretation.
I don't know. I think the fundamentals of the Constitution, like freedom of speech, stuff like that, I don't
Yeah.
think that really the just the basis of it, I don't think
Well, finish
has
that
anything
sentence.
to do with what time period you're in. I think that's
Yeah.
just it is what it is.
I mean, when
Yeah.
when
And
you
Now,
say
well, like Donald said, if you need to tweak an amendment to it to
Ah,
adjust for newer technologies, that's one thing. But the basis of it, it shouldn't have any effect whether you're on a computer or living in the Stone Age. It's just freedom of speech. Don't when you think about it.
yeah, but when people refer to parts of the Constitution, they always bring up like the obvious ones, like freedom of the press, freedom of speech, right to bear arms. How many people actually know all of the nuances of the Constitution?
I don't. I've read it, but I to say that I know all the nuances and can remember all of them, no.
Well, and that's the thing is people try to use the Constitution to fit narratives where it doesn't really apply.
that's
Like
where
I
the
said, when the
interpretation
company
comes in.
fires them because they badmouth the company, and then they say, "Well, I got freedom of speech." Well, freedom of speech doesn't cover private companies; it covers you against the government, against government tyranny, saying you can't say this or that. And that's why, if you go by the U.S. Constitution, hate speech doesn't exist. You
Exactly.
just don't incite violence in your speech. That's it. That's the only thing you get in trouble for. As long as you're not advocating violence through your speech, you're fine. You can
Yeah.
sit outside on the side of the road and yell nasty shit all day long. Technically, the government can't do nothing about it. I mean, they might be able to get you for being disorderly conduct if you're causing a big problem in public, as far as running out in traffic, yelling shit, stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, Dre knows more about that. He was a cop, but I mean, you definitely could get in trouble for being disorderly in public if you're causing a big issue with the surrounding area, right, Dre? Like,
Oh yeah, court. Well, like I say, I always tell people your rights only extend to the point where you're violating somebody else's rights. If you're out here making, let's say, the constant, not constant, but the regular disruption of peace, okay? As neighbors, you have a certain expectation of a peaceful living at your home. When your neighbor next door interrupts that, then you have a civil rights issue there. And that's when the police show up for the call. And there's always one thing we got taught. I know I was taught coming up to the academy and so forth, advanced officer training. It's always reinforced to you that you as an officer cannot have your peace disturbed. But as regular citizens, their peace can be disturbed. And that's where you have disorderly conduct. This is where you have the nuisance laws that are in certain communities and everything else that can come, that basically further controls our social norms. Okay. And that's why you have certain laws in certain states that cover certain things and other states do not. because of social norms within those states or within those counties or even cities, municipalities, and so forth. So that's what I was going to say. You have, like Justin was saying, he said it's kind of right. When you have the Constitution itself, is the, as we say, we would say the authoritarian document, but it's broken down to state laws, county ordinances, municipality ordinances, and everything else to further detail that authority for out what comes through the Constitution itself. Just like when I post scenes about my backyard home theater, and everybody asks, "You got some nice neighbors?" I said, "Yeah, it's what you do. You invite the neighbors over and enjoy a movie in your backyard, and you're playing it at reference level that they would only experience at a theater. So when I do it for myself, with my own family, I don't get any pushback." And the same thing, I have to put up with the Mexican polka music from time to time and stuff, and I really can't get it. I said, my thing is, as long as they shut it down by midnight, we're all golden. You know, I don't have no problems. But like I said, it's like a back and forth. You know, because there's always going to be that one neighbor that says, "Oh no, you're disturbing my peace. I'm gonna call the cops every time I hear a note or a loud noise coming from your property." And then you have disruption of a community because it gets that tit for tat mentality happens. And the police end up not even want to show up because they know it's all BS. Because it goes from everything from kids playing on somebody's yard, or the kids are too loud, to you're having parties all summer long, or any number of things. So it's all about us trying to live together, try to be respectful of one another. And most of that is that you reach out and try to be somewhat cordial, friendly with your neighbors, know who your neighbors are, and so forth. If you're doing something, be inclined to invite them. This will make us more harmonious as a community. Because when somebody's house gets broken into, what does everybody do? They go ask everybody around the block, "Did you see anything?" When something bad happens.
Yeah, that's what good neighbors should do.
Yeah, but like I say, if you're both being unkind to one another, they know they're not going to get two cents out of you. As far as looking out for their property, looking out for their kids. This is why we don't have kids that play out in the streets anymore. We have a higher level of crime, but we have the absence of a community. Neighbors don't know each other. They don't talk to one another.
Some places there still are. Our neighborhood, there are kids that come riding their bikes around, but I know that's not for most people. But
yeah, I mean, there's some. I mean,
yeah.
On my block I live at, I am very close with the people across the street. They are the godparents of one of my children, but I know at least the majority of people on my block. And I don't mean like I know their cars, I know what they look like. So when I see a car that does not fit on my block, I'm calling. I say, "Hey, I got a suspicious vehicle down here. Need to come check it out and stuff." And I've uncovered several dropped off stolen vehicles, all this kind of stuff, and down the street from my block where none of my kids go to school anymore, but that's always been the bus stop to pick up the kids. So when I see people who are hanging out down there, drinking, smoking, whatever they're doing, hey, I'm inclined to call because I'm thinking of the safety of my community, of my neighborhood and stuff. And it is very fortunate that I work for the city, positions that I've been in the city for a long time, that if we get graffiti, it's gone within 48 hours. Boom. Because I know who to call to get it done. If I got homeless encampment situation stuff, I know who to call to get action taken right away. So like I say, it's about taking care of your community, being a part of that community a lot of times. And that's what's missing, and globally it's what's missing around the world a lot. Like Don said, there are certain areas in the pockets in the country that people still conduct themselves like that. But I would say in our larger metropolis areas, that is not the norm anymore.
Yeah, and people are closing themselves off more as well.
Right, like I said, people are closing themselves off. No, like I say, people close themselves off. So this is where you have people who who have I would say have that bunker mentality, who have hunkered down. They get their information from very selective sources and not open to the wide. I tell people all the time. I said I listen to a wide variety of things. I say I listen to conservative talk radio in my work truck. I listen. I watch, but I also watch CNN News, ABC World News. I used to watch a lot of Fox, but a lot of the show hosts that I had a decent respect for, they're all gone.
Yeah.
So the individuals they have now, do as June and I said, they be on the train duty constantly.
Oh yeah, everybody's
For-
getting their own YouTube channels now. Look at Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, because they know they're escaping the I would say the normacy of what we're used to having as our information pipeline, and now people are able to go on these different platforms and go to the far extremes that they like to dwell in.
Yeah,
Did
the,
you
the
watch-
television news, the television news that we're used to, over the last 30 years or so, more, that is on the way out. I mean, I can see the death rattles of it right now, as they kind of clamber for more spectacular bullshit. But they are definitely on their way out. And the thing is, what's on its way in is this format of news, kind of YouTube.
Well, that's the
Internet
problem right there, is the word you just said, news. You got to ask people
News,
like the Tucker Carlsons, the folks who, some of the folks, what's her name, on MSNBC, I can't think of her name.
Oh, yeah,
Justin
Coombs,
who watches
Como, or-
MSNBC.
The word news is the correct term, I think.
Right.
Now,
Like I said, these folks are all
information rather than news.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say really information. These folks all come on with an agenda. They are no more than entertainers for the most part. None of them have actual journalistic
news,
credentials themselves.
It's
and
much
they're
more
just-
difficult for the
a lot
kids these days. It's
News
really
that they
difficult.
do, though, it's just sensationalism.
I don't think having journalistic credentials. I don't believe in gatekeeping. One of our best
Yeah.
tools in journalism is this right here: citizen journalism. People
There
actually
you go.
recording things. That is a great thing. But
Yeah.
then, of course, you can edit. You can cut off the
Yeah,
beginning of
yeah.
a clip.
Well,
You can cut off the end.
Just to give
I
a
think-
little more clarity,
absolutely.
Don, I would say that gathering information is part of journalism. Is gathering information and being able to decipher through the I would say ins and outs of it.
True.
And this way you bring forth a balanced viewpoint of everything. Like I say, like we said before, everybody since the last 24 hours views what happened in court one way or another.
Right.
Okay.
News has become an op-ed instead of news.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It becomes more of an op-ed instead of news. Because like I said, we're not looking at a balanced perspective of anything that occurs. Everybody's trying to twist it
Right.
to fit a certain narrative.
Yeah,
And
Now
the
the
notion- The notion
News
of being
Go
a
ahead.
qualified journalist is that kind of gatekeeping around qualifications, where it's like a walking, talking logical fallacy, where someone's appealing to authority. If someone's got a certain, grade or a doctor of news or something, they suddenly become more, trustworthy than someone who's just taking a picture in the street of something very important.
That's why I brought the term up as journalist, because
Yeah.
that is the making. Just like I said, you don't go to the doctor and somebody who only graduated high school.
Right.
It's
Okay?
because
There has to be a certain
business
level
or-
of acceptance of meeting a goal or expectation of what your qualifications are. Like I said, there's a lot of folks out there, as Don was saying, with cell phones and GoPros and
Right.
everything else.
And I
Saying
don't care
they're-
what
Yeah.
the qualifications are.
But
they're giving you the news.
But also, that being said, the majority of healers in the country are not doctors. They're the person that heals himself, puts a Band-Aid and does, takes care of themselves. The mom who bandages the knee, she's a healer just as much as a doctor. She doesn't have the qualifications.
Well, she's not doing surgery either.
Right. So it really depends. So that's what I'm saying. It really depends on what level.
Well,
But
Right.
Yeah, kind of minor surgery. I mean, she'll take a splinter out of your finger.
There you
That
go.
is classed as surgery.
I have done basically right here that there's a scar on my palm where I had I had a bike wreck when I was a teenager, and it dug a piece of skin up and it started healing, a little piece of skin out and it was healed all around. So I took an X-Acto knife, cut up the area, taped it back together, and let it grow back together. And I had a big lump on my palm for years before it finally settled down, but there's still a scar. So I did some surgery on myself.
Awesome. Yeah.
So to prove my point is that, you know, there is a certain
Yeah.
level of expectation of professionalism that needs to go along with certain things that we do.
Sure.
It worked.
Yeah, sure. But here's the thing. I don't, there is a correlation for sure, but I don't think that being, let's say, quote unquote qualified means that you are more or less trustworthy. I think that it's a
Well,
red herring for people, you know.
That goes with your reputation. I mean,
Yeah, there you
here-
go. Reputation is
Yeah, I
important.
must admit,
Yeah, that
I
is
know
important,
people-
right?
Now,
people
like I say, here in
qualified who
America,
never
I
been
was-
doing
okay, somebody's getting choppy to Mike. I would say
Yeah,
here in America,
Yeah, that was my
50 years ago, Paul, myself, Joe, I don't know who else, maybe Curtis. I think Curtis is old enough, is in the chat. If you mention the name Walter Cronkite,
yeah.
it's almost like being comparing to what came out of the Bible. Okay, that was
Cronkite.
that was the gold standard because of Walter Cronkite's reputation. And
That
so-
says a lot about how good I
You
looked that he
came
didn't
on
put me in that
game as
basket.
well, you know.
That just makes me happy that I must look good because Dre didn't put me in that basket to remember who
Well,
Walter Cronkite was.
I know you're not over 60,
Uh-huh.
Don, and I don't think Curtis is even over 60 either, but I think Curtis might be maybe mid to late 50s.
I think you know, even discussing ideas, a person who I disagreed with politically a lot, but was brilliant, Phil Donahue.
Yeah.
Phil Donahue was awesome. He would bring on people that he disagreed with vehemently, but he
Right,
would ask questions and he would just talk, and it was just a discussion.
right.
And then we got Morton Downey Jr. type talk
Took it
shows.
took it to another
Jerry
extreme.
Springer, that became what a talk
Right.
show was.
Right.
And I think the same thing, you can look at the same thing happening in news. It didn't
Mhm.
come about, let's hear the facts of what happened today. It became, let's get our 10-second soundbite in on what we think about what happened today. Who gives a shit about what you think? Give us what happened
Right.
today.
Exactly.
People
It's
want
all
the facts.
money.
No. People don't
It's
want the
how-
facts.
how
That's why it is
viewers,
so
how
popular to
many
have your
readers
different news
that-
channels.
Well, I thought
People-
you were referring to what was the expectation.
Yeah, I would like facts. But if
Right.
you're talking about general populace,
No,
yeah.
people. Like I say,
People want to be
hear
told
already
what they
think in their
believe
head.
already.
Yeah, they want to be told what they're
Yeah.
thinking in their head already, and that just gives them the confirmation. Okay, well, I was
Yeah.
already thinking I must be also correct because he's saying the same thing I think.
You know, I played chess. My dad taught me when I was in grade school. I played him until I was in high school before I ever beat him. I still love to play chess. I don't like to win at chess. I like to struggle at chess. I like to have somebody to play chess against that can beat me.
That
It's
improves
no fun
your
if I
game.
win all the time. I want that challenge, and I come the same way with thought, with figuring out things. I like to engage with people I disagree
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, me too.
That's
Yeah, I
true.
think it's-
That's the people you.
I think that's just a
It's
natural
become-
thing in most of us who always thirst for to get to the next level. I would put it like that.
well,
Like I say,
it's-
once you get to a level, you say, okay,
Hmm.
I need to go and play somebody better, somebody bigger, somebody faster
Mhm.
to keep proving my ability to see, do I need to continue
It's
to
just
get better?
generalized self-development, I think, you know,
Yes.
in an interest.
Yes,
And that
is it.
comes from pure, unadulterated kind of curiosity. The same curiosity I had when I was, 4 or 5, trying to figure things out. There's a real payoff for it as well. It's great. It's fantastic. I recommend it to everyone.
That
The thing
works
is-
the same playing golf. I much prefer playing against better players than me because
Yeah.
that improves the game.
Improves you, yeah. And that's the thing. I'm constantly trying to find things that I can. Don't get me wrong here. What I mean is, I'm thinking occasionally of things that I can butt heads with Donald about because we have similar interests. And we also have a similar curiosity for things. I think that's true to say, isn't it, Donald? But
No, that's not
well,
true at all.
yeah, there you go. See, we're butting heads. This is what it's all about. But what I mean is, it's about we're taking apart an idea, and it's kind of makes it interesting. It means that things can be learned and built upon. You see what I mean? What does that sound?
Now I'll give you a classic example just in this room alone.
Yeah.
As I come onto the show, the level of conversation has risen a little above up, and Justin doesn't say anything.
Fuck.
Oh,
We can bring it back down.
All right, Dre, you're gatekeeping. You're
Justin.
gatekeeping here.
No, I don't.
I believe that everybody
Fuck.
has an equal voice in the conversation, regardless of their intelligence.
Well, like I said, he can
Fucking
talk, but
bite me.
Justin, I didn't say anything about how high or low your intelligence was. You self-diagnosed.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, when I was just listening to the show, Justin was he was the MC. And I pop into the show, and the conversation gets a little more elevated, above his level, So Justin say, "Hey, let me go ahead and just tread water where I'm at and stay out of the way." Because Justin knows, so now I got a few fact checkers in here. I better be quiet.
Yeah.
I thought y'all were talking about Tim for a minute.
Well, Tim, I'll say I have to take my hat off. I haven't seen Tim on a lot, but from my understanding, I guess his involvement with getting back to gaming has decreased his alcohol intake. So I'm never going to complain about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he spent all his money
dude,
on
he-
gaming now.
Oh,
Yes.
crap, Justin. Sarah's in the chat.
Now you're in trouble.
I can speak on Justin's intelligence. Okay, this should be a short story.
Yeah. Do tell.
No.
No, Justin's good. I like Justin a lot.
I've had some
Like-
great discussions with Justin about all sorts of cool stuff.
I think Sarah is the kind of wife that everybody should be glad to have because she
Yeah,
defends
she backs her man.
nobody else.
She
Oh,
backs
yeah,
her
she
man.
does.
So Dre, you're
What's wrong with
saying that if we made a video about Justin, it'd be a short?
Well,
Don't-
what does he put out? You do what you know.
And that would be quite a few things that would be short, right?
Oh man. Like I said, that's the price of being young, Justin. You get picked on. It happens in every family.
Yeah, you've not lived long enough to build up the base of knowledge that we all have.
And that's why I tell folks that's all it is. I say
I've-
I just have, I said 62, about to turn 63. It's just about my life experience. I always tell people when I went to college, I didn't get any smarter. I didn't learn how to research stuff. That's all it was.
You had to accumulate the tools.
That's it.
That's what
That's
you
it.
do learn at college. You learn how to research, and
You
but
learn
that's a
how to
very important
research
part.
stuff.
That's a very important part of it.
Yeah, not only that, but we had to read it from books rather than being able to go on the internet to find it.
Well, that's
Yeah.
during our time, Mark. But nowadays, like I said, that's what that kind of gets under my skin. A lot of folks are going to Facebook groups, especially, and I'll be the first to admit I have done it on people in the drone community. And I asked them, I said, "Did you bother to try to Google this before you came on here?" And they get all
Yeah.
offended. And I said, "Well, I thought I'd come here." I said, "No, because what happens in a lot of Facebook groups is you get a lot of different answers. A majority of it's going to be misinformation, and you've been better off trying to Google it and narrow down to what you actually need to know."
And the amount of times the same question is asked by different people.
Yeah, that too. And I can't. I've got over that because I have to remind myself at one time I was a neophyte, and I had to ask those questions. But I always, like I say, because of my background of law enforcement, military, I say in going to college, I learned to research it. So I spent more time Googling stuff or looking it up on different websites before I would jump into a public forum and start asking certain things. And if I did ask something, the first sentence I would say, "Hey, I've looked all over the internet and I have not been able to find the answer to whatever it may be," and go from there. So that way I clarify I have tried to do this on my own and I've gotten anywhere. Now I may need some additional help. And that's why I tell people, I say, well, shouldn't your question be this way or that way? And they get all offended about, who are you to tell me how I'm supposed to ask what? I was like, hey, I'm just trying to help you. Because a lot of times the way I read it or interpret a lot of questions that come out as is very vague, very generic. So I said, how am I supposed to give you an answer if your question is not very pinpointed to where I know you need to go? And that's what happens when a lot of misinformation comes out. Because everybody's coming from different directions, thinking they're giving you a good information, and it's nothing even close.
Yeah. I mean, when I was at university, our computer took up the computer at the university took up a whole room, and all the questions you asked it had to be put in on a punch card.
Wow. Okay, now.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake, you're old.
Yeah,
But
I remember those punch cards.
Jesus.
I remember those days too.
Yeah, punch cards.
You're old too.
I remember when the first iPhone came out.
Person-
Oh,
Well, yeah,
Jesus.
I remember when the phone was on the
That's
wall
so
and you had to
depressing.
crank it and talk to somebody.
Personal
You got me
computer
beat there.
didn't even come out until after I left university.
Yeah, I remember picking up the phone and you had to see if anybody else was on it before you could talk
Yeah, party lines.
because of the party lines.
We didn't have party line.
Yeah, Curtis, Facebook is a conversation, but usually it is because you curate, it's usually not a challenge.
Well, that's what I was telling him. That's why I said
Yeah.
I had to self-admit. I had to remind myself that, hey, this is a conversation, and maybe I shouldn't be harsh on individuals because everybody doesn't have the same background as me.
That's
I
true.
tell folks, everybody's not built like me.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And it's also important, like you said, make sure you have defined terms when you're talking about something.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're talking about, I mean, people cross talk each other all the time and just don't get to what they're actually talking about. I mean, I could be talking about biscuits and gravy, and Mark is disgusted.
Now I'm hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I am not right into that.
That's all right. I got to go pay that bill in a minute. And I got to pass a Rallies, and they got those
Especially-
brisket burgers.
Neither no gravy.
Now Joe's on a whole nother level here with that. He said he knows he has to pay the bill, but he knows also I gotta pass a Rallies.
I've only eaten at Rallies once.
Place I'm past.
But I thought you said biscuits and gravy sounds good.
They have a
It
sandwich,
does, but
biscuit
a
gravy
Rallies
sandwich.
burger,
You got flour, you got pepper, you got some sort of grease. Salt, you can make some biscuits and gravy. Ooh, you got some bacon bits. Even bacon bits, you can make pretty good biscuits and gravy.
Come on,
Yeah,
it's
but for $3.49, I can get me a brisket burger milk. And I don't have to make nothing. And if I go a little bit further up to the property, I can get my cookie I threw in the trash yesterday up there. It should be wrapped up and good.
Oh,
They didn't hear that yesterday. I stopped and got Wendy's, and they gave me a free cookie I didn't know about. I pulled it out of the bag and I said, "Oh, I got one of these big chocolate chip cookies. That's good."
Mhm.
And I stuck it back in the bag, and I was up at the property, so I took the bag and threw it away and got home, and I said, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
See, I pictured Joe eating his lunch and then going walking off like a 4-year-old, his shoes untied, and he's just like, oh, "My cookie, where's my cookie?"
What I did is I ate my lunch. And I grabbed my fishing pole and went fishing for a little while. Came back, flew the drone, and then threw the bag away and didn't even think about it.
I think
And that's
if
what I
I
like about that property.
if I came over there and somebody gave me biscuits and gravy for breakfast,
You
that
would
would-
fall in love with it. You would change your definition of biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
I
It's
would
not
say
actually
what-
biscuits, though.
a
Scones,
dessert.
isn't it?
Why am I getting a scone and custard for breakfast?
No, but the gravy.
Well, that's not
is-
what you would get if you came over here and somebody gave you biscuits and gravy. That's not what you would get.
Yeah, because
You would get biscuits and gravy. A nice sausage gravy. Oh,
Well,
Great.
right there, Don, you gotta remember biscuits
Wow.
over there are cookies.
I know. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
I
no,
said
but
you have to
actually,
agree.
there's-
You have to agree on terms.
biscuits
Now,
are
Dre, how
different.
many times did you
It's
eat
different.
biscuits and gravy at the chow hall?
there's
And
much more to
biscuits
it
and
than that.
gravy as a dish here, you have to take into consideration what it is here. We know what it is there. We know that you don't understand. Or it sounds weird for you there, but you also have to take in consideration what the actual product is, not just what the words are that
Yeah.
describe that product.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it's called. You know, it's the taste. It's what it's about. But they really are scones, as far as I'm concerned. They are kind of
Yeah, they're more of a
l-
cake than a biscuit.
Not as sweet.
they're leavened by soda rather than you know, bread, yeast or anything. So they're just kind of like cheesy scones. I guess maybe with no cheese in. I don't know, but that's what you guys call a biscuit.
No cheese,
And
and biscuits here are little. If you're especially if you're doing like drop biscuits, like a sourdough biscuit is going to be a little flakier or a little crumblier, not flaky, crumblier.
okay.
Now,
And-
that
and
what
so-
Joe mentioned that a lot of you guys may not know of is in the military, we have a certain type of gravy called SOS.
Should
a,
I
white,
Yeah.
white gravy mix with sausage
Oh.
chopped up in it.
Yep.
That poured over some biscuits, though. That'll hold you over half a day, dude.
Yeah, that's when I think
Yeah,
of
I'm
biscuits and
telling you,
gravy.
that's my
I'm
favorite day of
thinking
the
of
week.
that gravy. A white sausage gravy is what I think of when I think of
Right.
biscuits and gravy.
Right.
Yeah.
White sauce.
Nice.
Some people just put just the gravy itself. It's actually the white
Yeah, we're not
sausage
we're not
gravy.
talking about a KFC biscuit with the brown gravy poured over the top.
No,
that
no,
that
no.
ain't
Oh,
no,
hell
that
no.
ain't what
No,
we're
no,
talking
no,
about.
no.
So is
The
there
white-
any cheese in it, Dre? Is the
There,
gravy?
You
some
could.
People, some people can add. Usually, the standard is the white gravy over biscuits. You might get the
So
white
it's-
sausage gravy, and some people add cheese. Just like some people like grits with cheese.
It's
grits with
a
shrimp, and
bechamel
everything else.
or a velouté. I suppose if it's got stock in it, it becomes a velouté, doesn't it? So it's a white sauce kind of bechamel type of thing.
It is
Or-
very much
it's more of a
bechamel. What
roux.
you it's kind of like a roux. What you're gonna
Right.
have in your you'll
Yeah.
usually cook your sausage. You'll have that grease from the sausage, hopefully,
Mhm.
or
Ah.
reach into your can on the back of the stove and get out some of the bacon grease. Then
Well,
you're
that-
gonna add your
The sausage what makes it
Flour.
adds a little
Yeah,
bit
then-
to
then-
the
then you
gravy.
Flour off.
then you're gonna add your flour in there, stir it just like you would a bechamel.
Make a blonde
After
roux.
that's
put the
going,
milk in.
pour your milk in,
Mhm.
let it thicken up, pepper and salt. You're good.
Yep. Yep.
Or you can just
I
go buy the little
see.
package that makes it itself and just add the milk.
All right,
And then-
Captain Joe.
You put sausages in
You
it.
see, now, there is the thing straight away. If
You
we
are
use
messing with
milk
me.
in a sauce, it becomes a custard.
Let's see the
Great.
other two.
It's
You
made
are
with
poking me
water.
intentionally, and I can tell.
Gravy's
know.
made with not milk.
And what's that, Mark? You said gravy doesn't have
Gravy.
milk?
Made with water and flour and meat juices, not milk.
Well, milk
You
is
know,
the
I
thickening
agree,
part.
Sarah.
Yeah, once you throw milk in
You
there, that's when
make
it
a
thickens up.
sauce with milk.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay,
but
that's how
not
you
gravy.
make your gravy, but over here we're talking about biscuits and gravy, and
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is how you make it.
No, because I know what he's saying. It's about water because standard gravy, brown gravy, you add water and go from there.
Mhm.
But like I
Yeah.
say, the white gravy is part of the milk is the thickening and also adds to the color.
Yeah, so it's
I know how to make standard gravy.
not the gravy.
This is the biscuits and gravy.
It is gravy,
Yes.
and I Mark knows this. He likes to just insist on
Argue.
his definitions are the only ones, but we're
Yeah. Well, I'm
describing
just
to you
saying that,
how
you know,
our dish is made.
Right, because like I said, you can have
I like
what we
don't-
consider
I'll-
white gravy with
try
turkey.
and explain it.
But that is the wonder of Mark. It's all right. We get it.
Yeah.
He does like an argument.
So I'm just saying, it depends on what the gravy is used for. Like I said, white
No.
gravy can be used on turkey. Most
just
of
like-
your darker gravies are used on either mashed potatoes or either a beef type of dish.
Heck yeah, Curtis! If you don't have a pepper grinder in your kitchen, if you're just grabbing a container of ground pepper, you ain't doing it right.
I have a pepper grinder and a salt grinder.
Mhm. They
Look
can
at that.
usually
Libby's
sausage gravy. There you go.
Libby's
That's it.
country sausage
Now-
gravy.
That's
Here's
it
the
right
thing.
there.
In
That is it.
writing me, Draven,
That is it.
what's the deal with grits? What's that about?
It's
Grits.
porridge, but made with oat.
From an American.
Yeah, it's
Draymond.
not made with
Yes,
oats.
I hear you.
It's made with wheat
Yeah.
or something. Or
Draymond's.
That
Sorry,
is,
Mark,
it's
how was it,
nothing
Nick?
like porridge. Not even close.
Grits is not made out of wheat. It's made out of
grits.
grits is made out of corn.
corn, then. Yeah, it's a corn porridge rather.
Okay,
Yes.
so the best way to describe it is go to the beach, get some sand, throw it in your mouth. Fucking grits are gross.
Oh,
Like I say, now grits
I
can
thought
start
that
a
was your
whole other
favorite meal there,
argument.
Justin.
So polenta then. So
Oh.
it's like
Grit-
polenta. Which
yes,
is cooked.
very much like
Yes.
polenta.
Like polenta. But I say it can start a
Oh,
whole
I
other argument
see.
depending on what part of the country you grew up in and how you would eat your grits. Like for me, I grew up primarily in the north, so it's butter and sugar for me.
That's
Now,
me,
oh,
Dre.
Okay.
Now, if you're in the south, it's going to be salt and
A
pepper.
savory.
Yeah, it's going to be salt and
Wow,
pepper.
that's
I mean, because
interesting.
because down south you eat grits morning, noon,
There you go.
and night.
Oh
There you go,
yeah.
morning,
Oh, no,
noon,
thank
and
you,
night.
Joe.
You can
Oh,
have
wait,
grits.
there you go. Come back.
It would be golden syrup.
Because in
You got eggs,
Scotland,
grits, and stags.
they have salt with their porridge in Scotland. Hence the logical fallacy attached to it, where no true Scotsman fallacy. You know about that. Anyway, but yeah. So down south they have
Yeah.
milk and sugar on porridge, and up in Scotland they have salt.
I
Just
will
salt.
say
And they
that
also-
polenta is
porridge-
a little creamier than grits are.
Porridge in Scotland is
Okay.
made
So
with
maybe-
water and oats rather than with milk as well.
Hmm. Indeed.
And I quite like salt in my porridge.
I do. Yeah, I like a pinch of it, even if I'm using sugar.
Yeah, sugar and salt go together. You want just a dash of salt in there.
Yeah.
I would prefer to use
There you
golden
go,
syrup.
Dre.
Yeah. I think I
Someone has screwed up that gravy.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Even
that's
got, don't worry
Yeah.
about my gravy. I got some watch your sister sauce in there.
Oh, watch this.
Ah.
There's my
There you
cup,
go.
That's
my
why
Marine
it's-
Corps cup. Whenever I eat that, I got to pour out the Marine
You
Corps
mean
cup.
Worcestershire?
Yeah, watch your sister.
sauce.
Well,
So
watch this,
that-
Worcestershire.
Worcester,
So- So you do.
but it's still pronounced Worcester. And we
So
just say Worcester sauce.
No,
we
it's
don't
pronounced Worcestershire.
Wa-
That's how it's
Worcestershire
pronounced.
sauce.
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire
Yeah,
sauce.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, but we don't call it Worcestershire sauce. We call it Worcester sauce.
you do.
You call it Worcestershire sauce. I think this is the problem. You see, what happens is, when Mark, when you and David say this is how we do it, you're talking about a small part
north,
of England.
of
You're
course.
talking about up north. Yeah. So when you say we, for God's sake, anyone listening, don't. I mean, Mark lives in England, but he's not talking about me.
Hey, up like what we're
Bless
coming
you.
up with.
Oh, by
Y'all
the way,
got me
Mark,
hungry, so look.
That
y'all got me
golden
looking at pictures.
syrup, the golden syrup on porridge thing. Yes, I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
Okay,
now there you go.
there you go.
That's what I need right now.
If I
Mhm.
haven't got any
Hello.
golden syrup, I quite like maple syrup on it.
Oh, I would prefer maple than golden. There's a stage here. Maple syrup, definitely. Golden syrup, yeah. But you got to realize I'm a diabetic. So, I mean, I know you're not
So
as
am I.
careful as I am.
Been a
I know,
diabetic 40 odd years.
but you don't. I mean, how do I put it?
I
I
nice?
see
think
you
it's-
guys are talking about maple and golden. I said maple
You
and
manage it
golden is just
differently.
like
Thinking in-
salt and
like an
pepper to us.
equal-
You start talking about some syrup, you talking about like blueberry syrup, strawberry syrup, boysenberry syrup. That's just going to
Gold-
IHOP.
Golden
God.
syrup is like in treacle.
See, us Brits don't even know those things exist, Dre.
Yeah, I can say that's just going to IHOP. A lot of folks that make syrup out of anything that's a fruit can be made to
Yes.
a syrup.
Mhm.
Peach, plum, anything can be made to a syrup.
Holy shit.
Basically, a syrup is made with sugar. So
Yeah.
anything made into a sauce with lots of sugar and
Mhm.
caramelized is a syrup.
Well, originally, wasn't it all made with cane sugar?
Well, that's just the ingredients part of it. Cane sugar has always been as the number
Well,
one
pretty-
sugar until
All
we
sugar
processed it.
cane.
You see, Sarah
You-
says that
you get
cheese grits are
Sugar
superior.
beet, but the
Oh,
majority
Sarah loves grits. I can't stand them.
Cheese
No,
grits,
she's talking about
that's
Dan talking about
interesting.
banana pudding, and that's a whole
Sarah's
other
smart.
category.
Sarah,
Banana
what
pudding
brand-
is you eat the right banana pudding. I don't care where you from, you're gonna love it unless you're allergic to bananas.
Justin has told
Now
told
that
me about that.
would that be normal bananas or plantain?
No
Bananas.
Normal
'cause
banana.
That's
Well,
that's
proper
the
banana.
current version of bananas.
current version of bananas.
It is. The reason our
Proper
banana, the reason banana flavored candy doesn't taste like banana as we know it is because that flavoring was developed on the flavor profile of a banana that doesn't exist anymore. It was wiped out. And they went to a different breed of banana. So the bananas that we have today is not the same banana they had in the 20s.
Wow.
Not only that,
Thank you for
still
that
get
tidbit of information, Don. We
types
appreciate
of
it.
banana.
That's what I was about to say.
Hey, I'm telling you, trivia. I got it in here.
I love it.
Okay,
start calling you Sheldon.
I'll make sure I send that to Ken Jennings for a Jeopardy question.
I quite like them little miniature bananas.
Yeah, they're
That
kind
are
of
only
cool, aren't they?
He's long.
You mean plantains?
No, not plantains.
plantains are
miniature.
huge.
We're
No,
talking
you
about
don't
Justin
not want to
again.
eat a plantain. Oh,
We're
that's
talking
gross.
about little tiny ones. You get them in
Yeah,
Tesco's.
We're talking about Justin again, huh? Tiny one.
They're only
like-
about,
they're like-
they're only
There you go.
about as long, whereas a banana is about
Yeah.
6, 7 long, and a
like-
plantain.
They're like a mouthful banana.
I don't know when 2 foot became small, but all right.
I think you got the part of the digit on the end confused, Justin. The 2 little ones mean inches. The 1 means foot.
Thing is,
Well, I'm just saying it's
No,
with all the
just-
lying that goes on, with guys lying to females about length, it's no surprise that they can't reverse a vehicle.
See,
Justin's
oh
been-
my god.
you got. I always tell folks you got to be careful with your words. So when you say the best way to get it right is say, "Yeah, I'm thicker than a Snicker."
Justin's been the wrong side of the ruler. He's been reading the centimeters instead of inches.
Just saying
Now,
my
now,
hip gets a
now,
little
Dre,
sore
Dre,
from
is that
thumping
is
the
that
floor
full
every
size or a
morning.
fun size? Because I might
I
qualify.
I say king size, or one better yet. I say I always tell ladies, hold out your wrists. And I said, there you go.
What are those little candies called? Those little candies, I think they're called Red Hots. They're about that big.
Red Hots are little small candies. When they look,
No, not the
like,
red. It's called that
Oh, I
was
know
red
what
something.
they are.
It's a little
I know
it's
you're
like
talking
Red
about.
Hot.
I know they're about that long. They were red. They're like
Yeah,
almost
there
like a
you go,
large
Jeff.
jelly bean, like a large jelly bean.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
He gets those and puts 2 of those together, and he might be close.
Ooh,
Now, Dre, I put a link in the chat discussing bananas and how the popular variety of banana became extinct and
Mhm.
why it might happen again with our current variety. So
It happened in Europe because they decided that bananas had to be straight and not curved.
That's a medical condition, Mark.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be made fun
Oh,
of.
now that explains it. Now we know why, Dre.
oh,
Oh, that's just from thumping the floor every morning when I get up.
Dan,
only penetrate
Dan's,
concrete so
statement
much.
Is Justin, is Dan's statement true in the chat?
So,
he's gonna find out tonight, by golly.
I got amongst men.
Let me officially say good
I
morning
think
to
in
Mr.
the
Dan.
problem that the majority of men like to go fishing.
Now,
Fishermen have absolutely no idea of size.
Oh yeah,
Thought was this
Yeah, JD,
big.
hot tamales. That's what they call.
yeah, hot tamales was it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
couldn't remember what I knew what I was saying, but I was saying the wrong one.
yeah, I couldn't think of the name. I know what you were talking about. But I just couldn't think of the name. Hot tamales. Yeah, I knew they were that
That's
long
what
jelly
they-
bean type.
Isn't that
Yeah,
what they used to call pretty girls a long time ago? Hot
Mm,
Hot
tamales.
tamales. I never referred to them. Maybe mamacitas, but
So-
never hot tamales.
A few years ago, there was a guy
you
called
watch any of the
Ray
ones that-
Comfort.
any
Do
The
you guys remember Ray Comfort? He was a religious guy who was claiming that God had designed the banana perfectly for the human hand and all that sort of thing. He said, "Here it is. It's got each little section that fits your hand. It's got a little opening device. It's got all this sort of thing." And he went on describing how God had made this banana perfect for consumption, and even with a a biodegradable wrapper and all sort of thing and whatnot. Anyway, after giving us all that detail, he was then told that the banana had been modified by biologists to include all the features that he'd mentioned, whereas the original banana wasn't at all, let's say, anthropometric or ergonomic. It wasn't something that would fit nicely in your hand or
Didn't the
easily
original
opened.
didn't the original banana not have a smooth skin either?
I don't know what y'all growing over.
I don't know, but I know it's full of
Yeah,
seeds.
because I
I
don't
wouldn't
tend
get
to
your banana
strip
from
my
South
bananas
America.
for smoothness.
Yeah, it was full of seeds, and I think the insides were a different color as well.
I
Something
mean,
like that.
usually when you spit on it, your hand glides anyway, so you don't really notice it.
Fucking
Oh man.
Now, has anybody
Disgusting.
here ever had a pawpaw? It's an American fruit, similar to it. It has a texture of a banana.
It's a prickly pear.
I may have
Prickly
and
pear.
not
No.
known about it.
No, we're
No,
talking
that's
about
what
we're talking about American pawpaw.
Yeah, an American pawpaw was also known as a prickly pear.
Is it red inside,
No,
like dark pink? No, I don't think I have had one.
Only certain times of the month.
Can you put a picture up of one?
Oh my god, Dan.
Oh.
You're a fucking idiot, I swear.
Yeah.
Most
If you've
of
ever-
them are Roku-sized
And-
notes. Just
Uh.
slightly above average.
Baloo used to eat pawpaw.
yeah, but a prickly pear is off of a cactus. We are after a pawpaw, and it comes off of a tree.
Okay, while Dan's researching that, I'm gonna take care of Don. I should say take care of that. I'm gonna show Dan he's using the wrong remote. These are the remotes I use.
There you go. That's a thick remote there, Draymond.
There you go.
Very
That's why I said-
girthy remote.
That's
Yeah.
what I tell you. I said, look at your
Two-handed
wrist.
remote, that one.
I said, look at your wrist.
Also grown in hot African countries, not just America.
First class Fortnite.
Do what? What's that, Mark?
It grows in hot African countries, not just America.
What we talking about now?
Pause.
The American pawpaw?
If you've got a picture of it, Mark, sling it up because I think that's what Don's trying to find.
All right, gentlemen, I have some errands to run today, so I didn't get started on my day.
No, I had it in the Seychelles.
Right there.
Have you
All
eaten
right,
them,
we'll see you later.
Because I haven't.
Later, Dre.
They are very interesting.
What's the taste similar to?
It's kind of like it's an odd flavor.
Mango texture?
I would say, yeah, it's a flavor like a banana had sex with a peach,
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah.
Only you would have thought of that.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard.
Lovely.
It's hard to describe.
Flavors can only be given
flavor.
a kind of comparison to something else, really. Because what would you do? How would you describe it? You
Yeah.
couldn't really describe it.
Yeah.
A peach had sex with a banana. That's good. It's good enough. The seeds as well in it, are like little beans. Probably in the mango family or something. Oh, Dre
Might have to use that with the girl across the hall.
I'm not sure.
My
Isn't
banana wants to see your peach.
isn't it part of the papaya family?
I don't know. It is. The American pawpaw is native to the United States. So I'm gonna look
Well, there
and
might
see.
be different ones, but
Yeah, the
that's-
natural range for the American pawpaw is just in the United States. There might be other similar plants elsewhere,
Mm.
but that's why I said American pawpaw.
Fair enough.
Wow, I would eat the shit out of one of those. I could do with one.
That was one, the Lewis and Clark expedition. I believe it was them. They were running low on supplies and they were almost home, but they were running low on supplies and essentially starving on their feet. And the pawpaws were just coming into fruit, and they harvested a bunch of those and ate like kings until they're full of sugar, they're full of fats, and it got them.
I bet we had some regular sailors on board at that point.
They were actually not sailing. Lewis and Clark were overland. They spent some times on boats on the rivers and stuff like that, but mostly overland.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't Lewis and Clark come up like through the Great Lakes and stuff, and all the streams and all that kind of stuff? And yeah.
Yeah.
Right, moving away from my headphones.
Weren't Pawpaw mentioned in the Jungle Book?
Yes, Pawpaws and Prickly Pears were both mentioned in the Jungle Book.
And wasn't the Jungle Book based in Africa?
Yep.
So obviously they do have them there.
They have pawpaws, but not the American pawpaw, which is why I said from the beginning American pawpaw.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a similar type of plant.
You mean yet another case of the Americans stealing somebody else's name?
It's another case of where anybody looks at something and it says, I don't know, it looks similar to what we had there, and so they have it.
Yeah.
You know, the capybara. The capybara is considered a fish by the Catholic Church.
I thought it was a Brazilian martial art.
Capybara is a Brazilian, or actually a South American marsupial that spends most of its time in water. But the priests that went there asked for permission to eat them in lieu of fish. And there was a papal bull decreed, since they spent most of their time in water, that according to the Catholic Church, we can consider it a fish.
Well, you could say the same thing about beaver, duck-billed platypus, otters.
Is there a papal bull for it?
I doubt it, but they spend
so that's why
the majority of their time.
That's right. They could have made the same argument for that, but they didn't. I'm just mentioning an interesting fact that actually does exist instead of a hypothetical.
Fair enough.
And it's how we call things by what is expedient. And if explorers came to America and they saw something and they're like, okay, what is that? Well, it looks kind of like this, and so they started just calling it that because that was a variety they had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Language works. Such a way.
Hey, Paul,
Yeah.
I'm getting prepared for Laura this afternoon.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, when Laura says, "Shut up, Joe," I got something for her. I made her a little llama, right?
Uh-huh.
And when you take a good look at it, it's got the middle
Oh, it's
finger up.
flipping the bird.
Yeah.
Just a minute. I'll spotlight you.
It looks as though it's.
Looks like a llama with a dick.
I know, but it's
What
flipping the
does it
bird.
Yeah, it looks like it's.
Yeah, I'm gonna
it's
paint
on.
that so you can see it real good. I've got a little llama getting flipping off. I think I'm gonna put it in my background, and then I'll just, when she says something, I'll just flip the background.
Are you familiar with the Eagle comics or something like that, where there's an alien in a little spaceship? Maybe, Joe, you could print something like that on top of the drone. Eagle comics. Do you remember that?
No.
That alien?
Marvin the Martian.
Is that what it was? Marvin the Martian.
That was the
Oh, yeah.
cartoon.
No, that's not it. Bear with me.
Where was the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
That's
Oh,
good.
so he sounded-
Yeah.
Donald, you should be doing voiceover.
There was also the Jetsons. Uh-huh.
That's it. Can you talk like the robot on Jetsons, the maid?
No. What was her name? Was it Irona?
I can't remember, but their last name was Jetson, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I remember her. She
George, Jane, Judy, Elroy.
Rosie, wasn't it?
Rosie. Irona might have been Richie Rich. Irona was Richie Rich, his robotic maid.
Well, everybody, I think I'm going to call it for this morning. We'll be on again later today, and Justin, you're going to be on later
Till later this evening. Yeah.
this evening. Okay. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, this guy here. That's the little alien that sat on top of his little spacecraft. Very weird, eh? Eagle Comics. I think that might look nice on top of the drone.
So yeah, instead of the little dish, have him just sitting on top of the drone.
Yeah, with two little
Yeah.
joysticks. That'd be awesome. Me. Maybe some glowing eyes.
Yeah, like I said, I made that little pelican yesterday. I think I'm gonna use that more than.
Oh, I
There's more
hate these AI
Louisiana.
photos.
I like the pelican. Pelican looks good.
Yeah, I really like the pelican.
Is Laura going on this afternoon?
I have no idea.
Don't know.
Okay, everybody. Well, thanks for being here.
Thanks for
We'll
having
see
us,
all
Paul.
of you again later today at 5 o'clock Eastern time. And
Yeah.
until then, stay out of trouble, have fun,
You too.
and thanks for being here, Michael,
Ah.
Yeah, see
Donald,
everyone. Have a
Mark,
nice day. Donald, Justin,
Justin.
Mark,
Bye.
Joe, Paul. Bye-bye.
and Joe.
Yep. See you all later.